Conspiracies, government cover-ups, Earth mysteries, monster cryptids.
Hospital Porter's Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV and welcome to this Reply to Comments 125. That's the 125th video in which I get to reply to your comments. You may wonder why I make these Reply to Comments videos. I mean, so, I was just speaking to someone today, actually, a viewer. He said, reply to comments, what's this? Why do you make these reply to comments videos? It just seems a little bit weird and it's so early YouTube, man, and things like that. Well, the reason is that I feel obliged to reply to comments when people make them, because a lot of these comments are very long and thought out, and I feel it's necessary. You know what I mean? It's polite, and some of you ask me direct questions or give me direct feedback. Now, you may think to yourself, well, there's no much point in doing that, Ben, because I've got to watch a 9-hour video to get a reply to one comment. Well, you don't have to watch a 9-hour video, because I will put a timestamp under the comment I'm replying to, telling you when, within the nearest hour, I'll be replying to your comment. Yeah. Another reason I do these reply to comments videos, because I enjoy doing them. They're great fun. So they're some of the best videos I make, actually, and you, the viewers, often enjoy watching them. I know some of you watch them all the way through. And as Stefan Molyneux said when he got banned off YouTube, he's back now, by the way. But when he didn't know he was coming back, but he said the comments under his videos were almost as valuable as the videos themselves. They're a kind of precious philosophical dialogue. And even though you can back up your videos on other channels, how do you back up the comments on YouTube comments? Well, this is the only way I can think of, or the best way I can think of. That's another reason to reply to comments videos. That even if I have lost videos, and many, I've got a number of them banned. The comments are preserved in the form of this video, which records them. Now, what you can do if you're watching this on YouTube, and indeed you may be watching this on, well, you can watch it on AltTech as well, because I'm going to upload this to AltTech and YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can use the Control F function to find your username or a particular word and skip directly to that particular part of the video if you like as well. Now, if you are watching this is the YouTube version, and if you are watching this on AltTech, if you look at my channel, you will see I have another reply to comments videos, but this is the AltTech Annex, which will not be uploaded to YouTube. It's just too spicy, so I keep that, strictly speaking and 100% speaking, on AltTech. Now, before we begin, some of you may have noticed something. When I put my hand up and said Hospital Porters Against the New World Order, what happened? My hand didn't glitch. I can do that and all kinds of things and nothing happens. I can put my book up like that, and I don't have to worry about it when I'm advertising it. I don't have to worry about it like fading out. And the reason is, I've finally done it, guys. I've finally done it. I've been talking about it for ages. Well, guess what? I have a green screen. At last, I've got a green screen. I had a bit of a bugger putting it up, actually, because the stand I've got is not wide enough. So I put like a little tent. I put like a tent pole in to try and make it wider. But it's not perfect. I mean, there's a couple of gaps and it's a bit glitchy. It is a bit glitchy on that side there, but on this side, that side. But you know, it is a green screen, which means I now have a much better image. It's a far better image than I had before. So yeah, I've finally done it, guys. I've bit the bullet. I've got myself a green screen. Hey, how about that? But you didn't think I'd do that, did you? But I said, get a green screen again, get a green screen. Well, I finally got one, yes. Now, unusually, I'm gonna begin with all the things I normally forget in I'm going to begin with the things I normally forget when I'm doing these videos. So I'll start with TikTok. Let's have a look. Well, well, for some reason it's gone over to the light app. I prefer the dark to the light function, the light thing here. But for some reason, I know I could fix that later. I don't know why it's done that. But anyway, there's Jimmy Carr, he's funny but not a bit annoying. But I've had I've had nothing at all. If you look at activity, I've had uploads from my my sub, you know, for my subscribers and things like that, with my friends, but no comments since, well, December last year. So TikTok is quiet. Now, I've had an email from somebody who included a comment they tried to put on, but YouTube wouldn't publish it. And it's annoying when that happens. I know it is. But anyway, it's to do with the smart cars thing. I don't know why this person couldn't publish it. I mean, I've just liberated all the spam, and I checked to see if this was in the spam folder, and it wasn't. And I'm certainly not doing anything here to prevent this. I've got my spam settings on the lowest filter possible. But anyway, let's see what he says here. The privacy paradox, smartphones versus cars. Let's be plain about tracking concern. Yes, a Tesla running FSD can be tracked while that's the automatic driving. I can't remember what that stands for. While it's moving and where it's parked. So can any other modern car through license plate readers, connected services, or standard GPS. The crucial difference is that once the driver leaves the vehicle, the tracking of that person ends. In contrast, a smartphone is typically within a meter of its owner, 24/7, providing precise, constant location data that follows you everywhere, into your home, office, or bed. It is inconsistent to fear Tesla's FSD for its tracking potential, will be perfectly fine with carrying a smartphone everywhere. Well, that's actually technically true, and some people say this argument comes up again and again with surveillance. Well, what does it matter? It's a fait accompli. They know where everyone is anyway because of A, B, and C other technology. At the same time, I think really there's a principle at stake here, and I think the reason to oppose, or to be concerned about the tracking potentials of the Tesla automatic cars is actually, it's more principle than anything else. It's more of making a stand against something just to create awareness. I think that's the main reason I do it. That's my main issue with it, which is why I actually do maintain that it's necessary. I do maintain that it's necessary to bring these subjects up relating to the Tesla automatic cars. So that's why. Just I think it's more to do with, it's more to do with issue than practicalities. And this person carries on, AI and travel planning beyond search. The claim that AI can't read a timetable is completely outdated. Modern AI tools can process and interpret complex logistical data. Oh, really? Well, why couldn't it tell me which buses I had to get when I was in Southend then? Why did it get it completely wrong? Reading time, and it also did that when I went to contact in the desert. They got the bus that I had to get from India to Indian Wells. They completely screwed it up. I never found out the actual bus schedules until I got there. Reading timetables. AI can scan thousands of live transit schedules to find the exact connection you need, accounting for delays and transfer times. Oh, blimey, how much are they paying you? That's like straight out of an ad. It interprets the data instantly rather than just showing you a static image. Agentic booking. In 2026, AI has moved beyond the research to agentic action. What's that mean? Google Maps and Gemini can now find real-time availability and directly book tickets for you, including flights, trains, restaurant reservations, and events tickets. Personalized logistics. For example, when I took my daughter to see a famous pop artist in a major city, all I had to do was tell the AI, I want to go on this day and time. It automatically pulled my tickets, found and booked the hotel, organized the transportation, and booted everything into a single live itinerary. It does this by using AI agents to communicate with various travel databases and booking platforms, syncing them instantly with your digital wallet and calendar. Real-time. Okay. Now, in my view, that's a good example of electronics making brilliant servants and terrible masters. That is extremely convenient, isn't it? It's extremely convenient. And, of course, anything that is labor saving will be popular. And so, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And I've never said I had a problem with it. As I said, the problem is when it starts organizing your life. I mean, in Leave the World Behind, I've never done a video about this, but I did a review on HPANWO Voice. If I can find it, let me just have a look. Leave the World Behind. One sec. You can read this if you like, and you can read this particular. Where is it? Hang on. Oh, I don't need. No, not Leave the World Behind. What's it? Don't Look Up. Yeah. I'm not sure I can find it, actually. I've got so many damn articles on it. I don't think I can find it. Here it is. Okay, I did a written review about this. Here we go. Don't Look Up. Leave the World Behind is a completely different film. Sorry, this is what I meant. Don't Look Up. You can read my little review here of it. It's a very funny comedy. It's a comedy that makes me laugh a lot. It's quite amusing, although it is rather misanthropic. I think Slaxer would like this. But what happens is that it's about people who have smartphones in this program, it's still a little bit showing. Come here. This green screen, by the way, those of you watching the Old Tech exclusive, you'll know there was a big gap in it because I couldn't get it to cover the entire angle, the camera angle. I've tried to sort that out by turning the actual cloth around, but it's still not perfect. Yeah, what happens is this guy's got his mobile phone. There's one scene where he's got his mobile phone and he's in a particular mood, and the mobile phone, which is run by AI, it actually it buys this record for him. Oh, I'd like to listen. He says that record is really making me poignant. It really making me feel something. And he goes, "Oh my goodness me, what's happened? Oh, my phone has just bought it for me." And he didn't even ask. That's the problem when it starts making these decisions for you, rather than simply helping you out with your own decisions. Then you get into trouble. Then that's a problem. Okay, where are we now? The evolution of the Tesla from supervised to driverless. While older FSD versions required drivers to be ready to take over at any moment, the technology has progressed to a truly unsupervised era. Tesla robo-taxis in cities like Austin, Texas. Tesla is now operating robo-taxi services similar to Uber with no driver at the wheel. Oh dear. You don't even have this little robot turning around and going, "Hi, I'm a Johnny Cab." How did I get in here? I'm sorry, I don't know that destination. Oh, Paul Verhoeven's Total Recall. Fantastic film. These vehicles handle the entire journey autonomously. Blimey. I'm not sure I'd feel safe in one of those, you know. I'll try one day if they come to, I mean, they're going to come to probably Oxford eventually. I'll try one. Passive income. Soon owners will be able to add their privately owned vehicles to Tesla's own network while they're at work or asleep, allowing the car to earn money as an automated Uber. Not a bad idea. The technology has reached the point where Teslas can now deliver themselves from the factory directly to the customer's home, except when they start crashing. Now, this is referring to the film called Leave the World Behind. Do you remember the scene where the Tesla autocars start smashing into each other and they almost crash into the main characters? Do you remember that? I did a couple of videos about Leave the World Behind. A film I have mixed feelings about. Well, you know what? I've often said, you know, if you watch my... I know, I've got so many things, isn't I? Here we go. I recommend watching this video. I know I keep referring you to other videos, but it says I've said it so much better before. Guided buses. This is a film. This is a video I made in 2014, and it's really worth watching because I actually go into all these issues here in this guided buses video. A cybercab without a vehicle without controls, the cybercab. Transition to full autonomy is further cemented by the cybercab. These dedicated robo-taxis are now rolling off the production lines at Giga, Texas, with the first unit completed in February 2026. Designed purely for AI operation, they feature no steering wheel, no pedals, no manual controls. Oh, so you can't even choose to say, "Oh, switch off for a moment, let me drive you." You can't even choose now. Blimey. The evidence from real-world unsupervised rides and a lack of manual interfaces in the new model shows that Tesla autonomy is now a functioning part of the modern transport infrastructure. Imagine a world where Tesla robo-taxi or cybercab can pick you up in less than 5 minutes and take you where you desire for 10p a mile. The age of driving licenses, car ownership, tax and insurance is finished. Unless you want to run a robo-taxi or cybercab of your own, that is. Well, look, I know, all right, what you're saying here does indicate that yeah, they're a lot more sophisticated than they used to be, and I was kind of looking at slightly outdated evidence there. All right, if that's the case, if that's it, so be it. And there's some sources here in this comment. Now, Over the Moon has sent me some emails as well of comments that he couldn't post. I'm in negotiations with him right now because I think he could post these things as comments, and I'm hoping he will. I won't answer them this time round, but I will hopefully answer them in the future because I'm kind of like talking to him privately in a moment about this. But I'm not going to. Over the Moon, if you're watching, I won't be addressing your specific comments in this particular video for reasons I've explained to you in our private emails. However, I know you have put other comments on this video which you haven't emailed me, which I will be addressing in this video. Okay, so I'm not against talking to you at all. I know you may pretend that, some people may pretend that and say, why won't you talk to Over the Moon? I suppose you've blocked him now. No, I haven't blocked him or anything like that. I'm willing to talk to him. This is a specific private issue which I wish to go into with him privately, and when that is actually dealt with, I will address his email comments in the same way I addressed this other person's email comments. Right, someone sent me this. It's actually, you won't mind me saying this because it was actually in the public section of the live stream. For some reason, this would not go into YouTube. Wouldn't let him post it, probably because it had a URL. But it's Chris Bledsoe, 26 prophecy revealed. Aliens predict a shopping revolution for mankind. All right. I haven't actually had a chance to watch this, so I'm very sorry, Sweeps, but it looks very interesting. I met Chris Bledsoe very briefly, and indeed he is. He was a speaker at Contact in the Desert, and he looked interesting chap. I never got to see his whole talk, but it's very interesting indeed. Right, so now I'm going to start with the. I'm now going to go back to the. Oops, I'm going to go back to the emails. Sorry, the YouTube comments list, and I'm going to go through them. I selected newest first, which means I sometimes, for some reason, some of them actually appear below comments I've made before. I don't know why that is. But anyway, Freedom for Life Always replies to me and says here, pleased to wear looked after. All right, I don't know what that means, but it sounds polite and friendly, so that's good. And now we go up a little bit, and we have here, I've got a comment on the bottom of that thread. There's a thread there, there's a thread there. Okay. Red Ibex says on Lapis Conference 2025, good video. Thanks very much, Red. That's a great one, that is. That was a great conference. I really enjoyed that. Red Ibex says, do you recommend the Wolfen 1978 book? What is it all about? Yeah, right. This is a book by none other than Whitley Strieber. This is, I think he wrote this before he wrote Communion, which of course is autobiographical. And yes, it's I never read the book, but I saw the film. It's quite a good film about a very spooky. What was it? It was this sort of like abandoned kind of like building site, and there were werewolves living on it. But it was a really, really cool Wolfen, film. It says here 1981 crime horror directed by Michael Whitley, based on the 1978 novel The Wolfen. Yes. It's the debut novel of Whitley Strieber, and tells the story of two police detectives in New York City involved into the investigation of suspicious deaths across the city that are revealed to be the work of a race of intelligent beings descended from canis, that is dogs, called the Wolfen. Sounds good. Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. Yes, well, it's not werewolves then as such. It's kind of like dogs that are sort of evolved secretly. Right, interesting. Lapis Conference, same video, 2025, said, Red Ibex says, I'll bet your friend was furious when you failed to acquire the rock. No, she wasn't. I explained to her, this is an old lady I kind of like work for, a client, and she used to live in Lytham St. Anne's when she was young. And I just said, look, they don't make it anymore. And she said, okay, fair enough. Right, Secret Space Disclosure Basis 2025 conference. And we have Red Ibex here with a timestamp. I think that's the Christmas menu. They've got a figure on there, looks like a school shooter. Oh, right. I made a joke about a school shooter. I shouldn't do that, should I? I said this man looked like a school shooter. and Red Ibex says, I did laugh, mate. A bit like an American high school 80s shooter. Yeah. Same video, Red Ibex says here, I have a semi-photographic memory. Oh, that's not bad. That's better than having a non-photographic memory. And I've never remembered weather this bad in my lifetime. Quite literally 4 or 5 solid months of rain. Where do you live, Red Ibex? It's probably Oxford. It's geoengineering, in my opinion, to make us miserable and to demoralize us. all you hear is people complaining all the time. You just want to self-isolate to avoid the negativity. Well, there may be an element of that, Red Ibex. I'm sure it certainly doesn't help. It certainly doesn't hinder the work of the Illuminati, does it? I mean, if you, it certainly doesn't hinder them. If you are miserable and die, you go, oh God, my life's horrible. I can't bear it. It's awful. That's how they want us to feel. And if bad weather assists them with that, well, it's a bonus, an added bonus. That being said, however, I don't necessarily think that that's actually the true purpose of geoengineering. I think the main purpose is something different. Okay, same video. There's a timestamp here. It says here, did you feel an added pressure with your floor management tasks? Miles will hit the roof with the force of 1,000 tornadoes. But, there's a little doggy over there. See? Right, well, it turned out, I see what you mean. Yeah, I was putting the chairs out. The thing about it is, Red Ibex, that's about all I did. In the end, I didn't get to do the floor manager's job because I couldn't get to Pusey. I was staying in Devices with Miles, and I couldn't get to Pusey. So someone else did it. So it would have been fun if I had it. And there's a friendly dog, Daisy, says Red Ibex, and we've got another timestamp here. And it is 39:34, which is pretty close to where I am now. We've got a little doggy just watching us. Do you want relocating to the cabin, do you? Hello, little doggy. What's this doggy's name? Daisy, right. She was friendly, yeah. She was a very friendly doggy, I remember, yeah. Right, reply to comments 124. First, says Red Ibex. Well done, Red. Congratulations. Another gold tinfoil hat is on its way. And Red Ibex says, wow, how long did this take to load? Oh, I think it was about 2.5 hours. If you include the processing time and stuff, it was a long one. It was a long one. I don't know how long this is going to be. Hopefully shorter, because I mean it's not quite as long since the last one that I did a reply to comments. It's also to do with the number of uploads as well. But basically, I try to do these reply to comments within 2 to 3 weeks. Otherwise, like you say, they just turn into marathons, just like in the old days when I used to do them every couple of months. 124, Red Ibex. You seen what Trump is doing in Iran? Is doing to Iran? I have every sympathy for Iranians, but the real target is the West. Destroy another country, create more refugees, both legal and illegal. Yeah, that's a part of it, I'm sure. Indeed, it was with Syria, if you remember. Was it bomb them and then invite them in? Yeah, there's a part of that, yeah. And there's many, many reasons why these stupid wars keep breaking out. And it's very disappointing to see Trump just playing along with the mainstream on this. And Neil Peel is here. Neil Peel Paranormal Peep Show. There's a new episode just been uploaded, actually. Early morning upload, says Neil Peel. That's right, I did, in the early morning. Not normally up early on a Sunday, he says, but it's much better to listen than a church sermon. Bless you, my child. ESP says here on 124, it needs to be amplified, gravity, once one has secured an atmospheric bubble. I don't know what that. I don't know what you mean. Sorry, what the context is there. I know if you put gravity up too much, we won't be able to move because it'll essentially force us down. Eventually, you can be crushed by too much gravity. 124. Woody Black. Oh my God! I just looked up the Annie Jacobson claim about the Roswell incident. I've got an open mind, but I think this one is a little far-fetched, even for me. Same here, Woody. I was actually obviously, for those of you who don't know, I won't tell you what it is because it's one of the most horrible, terrifying and disgusting things that has ever been suggested in the conspiracy sphere to explain the Roswell incident. And I hope to God it's not true. I really hope to God it's not true. But Annie Jacobson puts it in her book. I'd rather it was a weather balloon than what she's suggesting. But it's there and people take her seriously. I know when you think of the evidence she's provided, it's basically, trust me, bro, I've got an anonymous source. Well, where have we heard that before? Why is it when Lou Elizondo or David Grush says that, people go, oh, another anonymous source, another trust me, bro situation. Where's the evidence? When Annie Jacobson does that, everyone says, oh, that's really good, Annie. Yes, that's really, really important evidence you've got. Do you see there's a bit of a double standard here? There's a two-tier kind of logic here. And the reason is Annie gets her trust me bro pass because she doesn't believe in aliens. It's because she's essentially a skeptic when it comes to alien things that she's kind of like she's like left alone, which is, I think, very hypocritical. Woody Black says here on 124, Rebecca Watson is in the Epstein files as well. But like you said, yeah, it's about context. She's in there because Richard Dawkins was moaning about her to Epstein in a few of the emails. Yeah, Richard Dawkins is turning every new piece of information that leaks out about her, and the more of a dickhead I think he is. Now, I'm not a fan of Rebecca Watson, as you know. She's a feminist, and if we ever met, we wouldn't get on, I'm sure. She'd find my views misogynistic. But you know, I still think her complaint was reasonable. When she was at the Skeptic Conference in Ireland, she was accosted. I say accosted. She was propositioned by a man in a lift at 4 a.m. after a drunken night out. Now, that is pretty tactless, and she was quite right to say, you know, it's not a good idea to do things like that, guys. And she's quite right to. And now, to her credit, she's never named the man in the lift, but rumor has it was Dawkins himself. Yep. A 70-something-year-old guy, married, making a pass at a woman half his age in the lift at 4 a.m. I mean, yeah, we all do. We all sometimes do stupid things. Why doesn't Dawkins just apologise? If I was in his situation, and I've not done anything quite that bad, but I have done silly, rather tactless things in the course of romance. I just apologise. That's all. Just apologise and say I was really sorry. I shouldn't have done that. But no. Richard Dawkins the great Richard Dawkins does not apologise. No, he wrote this Dear Muslima, this horrible long tirade against Rebecca. She replied with a tirade against him called the privilege delusion. I mean, the wit of these people is unbelievable. And since then they've been bitter enemies. You know, I mean, it's just that this. Yeah, a lot of people were in the Epstein files for innocent reasons, because of Epstein's interest in science. You get other people in the scientific world as well. There's Lawrence Krauss, Kevin Knuth, Stephen Hawking. I think Cox is in there as well, Professor Brian Cox. Oh my God, there's quite a few people. You know, Sabine Hossenfelder, she's in there. So these people are in there for completely innocent reasons. So that's, I think, was why Rebecca Watson is in there. I'm not surprised that Dawkins is moaning to Epstein about Rebecca, you know. All right, okay. Well, Woody Black says on reply to comments, and it's actually a timestamp here. And what have we got here? Upload saying, Hospital Portaloo, pridely dignified. Yeah, this Woody Black has simply copied Professor Emlyn-Jones' quote and then put a laughter after it. I'm glad someone's got a sense of humour here. Someone's got a sense of bloody humour. Over the moon, you should learn from this, you know. 124, and speak of the convenient. Speak of the devilly most. It is Professor Emlyn-Jones who says, yes, second. You have to say the wordage to claim it there. Correct. Will you get a silvery tinfoil hat bowled? And then 124, Professor Emlyn-Jones says, Ben, my little foibles, as much as I appreciate all confessi there, that's what Viagra is for. Oh dear, no hard feelings, Runman. All right, so my foibles. Do you have foibles? Is that what it's called? Foibles? And we have here 124. It's Rhiannon Raven. How are you? Who says, yeah, thanks to Chrissy for the addition of the Richard Hall is Innocent badge to the HPANWO studio area. That's right. It's right there. It's just there. You see, I can do this so much easier with the green screen. But Ben, please straighten that picture frame. The thing, it's hanging all off as well as a squint. It's giving me background anxiety. Oh, sorry, but you know, the problem is, Rhiannon, that it's the actual T-shirt there is on a coat hanger, which is weighing it down. And so it naturally sort of like drags it down a bit. And so when you come over here to the Boudica pictures and the crop circle sticker, it's higher up, and there's the Cox card as well. That's really funny. And there's Russell just behind my shoulder there. So sorry about that. I can't really straighten it up. In regards to Concorde, says Rhiannon, I can remember when I was a child, we would always hear the sonic boom of the Concorde every evening. Not knowing what it was, I asked my mum the first time and heard it, and she explained it quite mysteriously. It's the sonic boom. But she didn't explain it was because of Concorde or what Concorde was. She didn't explain because of what Concorde, because of Concorde or what Concorde was. Because she didn't explain it was because of Concorde or what Concorde was. Right, okay. I spent a significant part of my middle childhood thinking there was a tribe of aliens passing every evening called the Sonic Booms. This was around the same time as E.T. the Extraterrestrial came out. Oh my God. Oh my God. The Sonic Booms are invading. Yeah. Are the Sonic Booms the kind of aliens that will like abduct you when you put the bins out? You know, we know that those are a particular phobia of yours. You know. And Professor Emlyn-Jones says, "Oh, deep joy, the musy twang at my heartstrales brings a salty motion to the eyeball and a deep joy in the throkus." Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. There's a throkus. I don't think Viagra could help with that. Oh, by the way, you know that Viagra is a bit of a scam. Even Ben Goldacre, the skeptic, said this about Viagra. He says that most of the patients he prescribed Viagra to, their problems are psychological, and the same with female Viagra, which is for women, for frigid women, and it's got a lot to do with like they're in a bad relationship or something, or they're remembering child abuse and things like this, and that's why they have this problem that they can't perform, and it's actually a lot of them would benefit from simply from like relationship counselling and things like that, and psychotherapy and things, which the NHS doesn't tend to provide because it's not a revenue stream for big pharma. Anyway, that's just something that popped into my head. I was thinking about the thing that Professor Emlyn-Jones said before, so kind of inserting a reply from an earlier comment into a newer comment. Yes. Well, anyway, Rhiannon, I hope the sonic booms don't get you. Why did your mum not explain what they were? Oh, dear. Jolly Jones says on 124, here we go. Oh, there's a timestamp. Jolly. What's Jolly doing? Nothing, no relation to Dom Jolly. And certainly not a sucking force. The difference between LEO vacuum and lunar vacuum is less than 1% in a... Okay, a vacuum does not suck, doesn't it? I mean, it's a good vacuum. Yeah. This vacuum over here, that sucks. This one's a good one. It actually creates a low pressure area that allows higher atmospheric pressure to push gases or liquids into that space. The movement occurs due to the pressure difference. When the higher pressure pushes into the lower pressure area, you are not technically sucking, you're creating an environment that allows higher external air pressure to push. Right. Duly noted, Jolly. Thanks for the science lesson. Over the moon has got a long one here. Oh, over the moon? This is the comment I've just read out, the one you emailed to me, which you said you couldn't see. Yeah, that's strange. Look, I'll show it to you. Look, if you don't believe me, look, there it is. The privacy paradox, smartphones versus cars, etc. Right, you emailed that to me, saying that you couldn't. You're saying that it didn't appear. Now this is odd because I can see it perfectly. It's on reply to comments 124. So it looks like when you posted it, for some reason it was hidden from you. I don't know why. I mean, I've just like given you a reply. So hopefully, maybe just if you can see the reply I put there, you may be able to see the comments. I don't know why that is. YouTube's bloody awful. It really is. It's really, really bad in that way. Okay, now we've got like a thread, which I've already put some. All right. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is Mark Allen did briefly flip at the BIS. Okay. Ben, he did not flip. And then Steve Polish says, regardless of how Mary Bennett writes up her interpretation, it's probably best we look at his own words at the event, which I took from the video verbatim. BIS member, Marcus, you said something right at the beginning. You said, I do not doubt that man has landed on the moon. Is that correct? Marcus Allen, There is more than enough evidence that I'm persuaded by, specifically, as I say, the photographs of the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which show the landers where they're supposed to be. I checked the Apollo photographs overhead compared to the LRO photographs for the same mission. The pattern of craters matches, the position matches. The only thing I do object to is they're such poor quality photographs. There is a body of thought which does believe that nobody went to the moon. I don't happen to agree with that. Okay. Now, yeah, I've actually watched the video since then. He does. Those are his words. Now, this is odd because since then he has actually flipped back, shall we say, and he has actually, we've done the Apollo detectives in which we have actually discussed with Jarrah White the possibility that the LRO photographs themselves were tampered with. However, you know, Marcus says he does not, there's a body of thought which does not believe that nobody went to the moon. I don't agree with that. And that is something he's been consistent about, and so have I. Even in the program where I first saw Marcus, he said that. He said, well, I'm not saying no one's been to the moon. I'm saying, is this a proper record of it? Over the Moon continues here. Alan claimed in the Q&A that he's never denied human moon landings, only questioned the photos. Well, here's a clip of him prior to the presentation telling Jeremy Clarkson exactly the opposite, that man has never landed on the moon. Let's have a look at this then.
But first we begin with a question. Do you know how many French people in the whole of history claim to have been abducted?
Oh, it's Marcus Clarkson. Right, what's this then?
So are you going to try and convince me then that man...
This must be quite a while ago, because then Marcus, you see, he's quite young there, brown hair.
Hasn't walked on the moon?
Yes, I am going to convince you.
Well, why?
All right, so... Okay, so... All right, so... Right, so this is an inconsistency. All right. I don't have an answer to that over the moon. I haven't. I'll watch the rest of that clip later and maybe get back to you. But yeah, that's an inconsistency there. But I mean, it's not like an inconsistency to say that Marcus is now saying the photographs were real and things like that. And indeed, somebody has actually shared. Somebody's actually shared the video. Someone actually did find the BIS video, and I've actually watched it now because I didn't know where it was. It just disappeared from the. It disappeared from the. It disappeared from the British Interplanetary Society YouTube channel, but there are copies of it floating around, and both Neil and Over the Moon did find some for me, and Neil actually suggested try Internet Archive. But anyway, Steve Polish says to me, I had it, but where it is another matter. This is Mary Bennett's take on the episode on all this. They, the BIS, had understood that Marcus Allen subscribed to the view that no humans had ever been to the moon. In fact, Marcus's personal view is that we did send men to the moon, but the photographic record of Apollo is full of unexplained problems, a different matter entirely. The discussion as to whether astronauts did or didn't go to the moon appears to be a smokescreen, enabling defenders of Apollo to gloss over the anomalies in the record that need full scientific explanation. Well, she's right. In fact, I've seen that in this very conversation, guys. I actually personally do not deny that people have been to the moon. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they went many years before the Apollo project, and probably, I imagine, possibly in Nazi Germany, it's possible that they carried out the first manned moon landing. But yeah, but all I'm saying is that what we're told about the history of lunar exploration is wrong. That's what we're saying. Steve continues. That's why I say the Apollo hoax proponent just nod along and question nothing they say to each other, however conflicting or inept it is. Well, I don't think this is not like no, that's not fair, Steve. There's nothing majorly conflicting or inept here. This is an anomaly. You spotted a continuity error in maybe Marcus's testimony. Okay, but it's not like a big thing. I don't think it's big enough I don't think it's fair for you to portray us in that way, nod along, question nothing. If you watch the Apollo Detectives videos, you'll see we do question each other. I mean, Jarrah White in particular, he's willing to challenge other people within our community on our views. He did it to me once. He said he was absolutely, because I mentioned that I tried to bring up the occult element in NASA, and he was having none of it. He tried to say, well, this is where the flat Earth stuff comes into. Well, you know that Jarrah has a very low tolerance threshold for flat Earth belief, much lower than mine. And we had a brief debate about it. So yeah, we don't just nod along and question nothing. Anyway, Steve says, this has Marcus only questioning photos, but his views clearly been described thus because of the quote I supplied in the lecture Q&A. Okay, well, ring it, ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling-a-ding-dong. Okay, you've spotted an error. Well done. But it's not like Marcus is a hypocrite as a result of this. It's not. Marcus has consistently denied men could be sent to the moon, and that showstoppers were the VAB and vacuum, and in agreement with Randy Walsh, an inability to lift the Apollo payloads whose thrust data was falsified. Right. Well, Steve, has it occurred to you that Marcus may believe, as I do, that different kinds of technology were used on this particular mission, on this particular exploration of this heavenly body? I think what Marcus means is that the problems of radiation and rocket technology in the public domain couldn't get people to the moon. That's a very different statement. And you don't actually separate these two issues here. I don't know if you haven't thought of them or you're being dishonest. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. This is the shambles he created at Frauds R Us HQ. When he flipped for a couple of hours at the BIS. Oh, dearie me. Rhetoric beyond belief. Neil Peel says, try Internet Archive for the thing, for the... Oh, and indeed, Over the Moon provides some URLs here for these things. So you can go and watch it. You can go and watch it yourself. But Neil says, try Internet Archive. Over the Moon says, YouTube's playing silly buggers. Again, I've tried posting links several times. They keep getting deleted. They might show up eventually. But in case they don't, I've sent you them via email. And I've said, sorry about that. I've just checked the spam folder. It's empty. Thanks for your email. Because he did send this by email. And I says it's worked fine that time. Over the Moon says here, only after some serious editing, I had to remove the Apollo Detectives channel selectively in the editing events, flooding the web with multiple uploads from multiple accounts that only featured Marcus Allen's presentation while omitting Jerry Stone's rebuttal and the subsequent Q&A session. Despite their best efforts, the whole event was simple to find. What? Right, the Apollo Detectives channels. Right, I see. So you're saying the Apollo Detectives channel has a copy of Marcus's testimony at the BIS without... What's happening here? Hang on, so there's a copy of Marcus's testimony, but without... I've just lost something. Where is it? Anyway, but without... It's a copy of Marcus's testimony, but it does not have... but it does not have the rest of the program in. Is that what you're saying? Okay, because I mean I wouldn't want to see that particularly myself. That's not something I would enjoy watching if it was me. Okay. While the British Interplanetary Society's own YouTube channel would be the most logical place to find the complete unedited record, I saved myself the trouble by having AI track down the full multi-part archive for me. Whoa! Yeah, you're really into the AI stuff, aren't you? Yes. Did it book you a hotel at the same time? Here's the complete moon fact or fiction session from the BIS channel. Okay. And Neil says, I looked a few weeks back and downloaded Marcus's Part 1 Anomalies presentation, but looked this evening at the BIS YouTube channel and nothing of that event appears to be there now. I can only assume it might be in respect of Marcus's passing. All right. It could be. They may have taken it down... They might have taken it down as an act of respect or something. I don't know. Maybe it's a policy of theirs. When one of the features dies, they always take down the video. It may be their policy for their webmaster. I don't know. And Neil says, but yet you or AI track them down. Well, look, let's just have a look at them. Let's have a look at these, shall we? Here we go. Marcus Allen's presentation.
3 things I didn't know before I joined Gusto.
British Interplanetary Society, there you
that
are.
I'd be so spoiled for choice with a new menu every week.
Re-upload.
That it would be such good value versus my usual supermarket
Okay,
shop.
so there you are. It's a re-upload. It's a re-upload. Over the Moon says, why do the work yourself when you have tools to do it for you? Neil says, I've downloaded the first part of Marcus a few weeks back, but I forgot I had done so. Then I realized I had it, so sent it to Ben. Yeah, thanks very much, Neil. I did get that from you, yes. I didn't even think to look for the Part 2 comeback. Have you any knowledge of parallax, by the way? Meaning looking at it up. Looking without looking it up, that is. Over the Moon says, Bart Sibrel and Bill Casing interview. What's this here? Oh, wow. Bell casing interview, never broadcast, NASA Apollo fakes. That's from 8 years ago. Wow. Wow, this is a classic, this is. It's on the Confronting Conspiracies channel. Oh, Ralph Renee interviews Bill Casing. Ralph Renee, the interview was edited down to Bart Bros. A funny thing happened on the way to the moon at the request of Fox Television to make the film fit into a 1 hour time slot. Okay. Right, so that's the Bart Sobral Bill Casing interview. It says Ralph Renee there over the moon, but this was part of it was part of Bart's documentary, Over the Moon, Sister Neil. Asking me if I have knowledge on the subject without looking it up is a joke unless you were born with a physics degree in your hand. You had to look it up to learn it too. I don't prioritize memorizing dictionary definitions. I prioritize the intelligence to find accurate data and the logic to actually use it. Neil says, okay, fair enough. I just wondered if you'd ever come across it in general. Over the Moon, Sister Neil. In general? Do you mean every single time I open my eyes? Everyone experiences parallax every single day. Most people just don't know what it's called. As I mentioned to Ben earlier, I'm an amateur astrophotographer. Parallax is essentially the foundation of my entire craft. Whether I'm thinking about it, consciously or not, I deal with it every time I set up my gear. Fair enough. Okay. So that I think the answer is yes then. Right, you are. Steve says to me, Dave McKeegan is now running this casing issue. He has apparently been contacted by Jarrah White claiming some kind of shared copyright on the Bart Sobral video, presumably in an attempt to bury it. Is that right? Is Jarrah trying to stop this being shown? He, White, also infers Casing had some contemporary insights raising his suspicions on Rocketdyne's behaviour, but this does not match the claims in his book. Rather, it seeks to mitigate others, Walsh and ADs, having falsely attributed to Casing. Fact! Casing said nothing about Rocketdyne falsifying F1 thrust data because of the F1 instability issue wasn't resolved in static testing until April 1965 at Huntsville. Casing left his job as a technical writer in 1963. Marcus Allen has also repeated on video the story of Casing being given the idea to deny Apollo by John Grant, which contradicts Randy Welsh. Oh, was this the Vietnam veteran who said, "Oh, we need to say something critical to the government"? So rather than and castigating them over their foreign policy, which is what most Americans did after that war. Oh, let's just make up a fantasy story to discredit them, which no one will believe. No, is that the same person, John Grant? Is that the same person we're talking about here? However, Marcus didn't provide the dates showing Casing waited over 12 years to reveal his suspicions, or the irrefutable fact that he wasn't at Rocketdyne when F1 testing proved its stability and reliability. These are confused machinations of caught in the act liars and cheats. All right, well, and as Over the Moon says, I posted a link to the full video Sobral interviewing Casing above. We'll have to watch the whole thing then, I think, to get the whole gist of what your point is. All right, okay, well, let's have a look. Okay. Now, that's the end of that thread. And we have Steve Polish, who says here, you quoting and responding to me, quote, unchallenged lies become other people's truths, rhetoric. They all sit there and soak it up without showing or demanding credible evidence, rhetoric. This all hinges on sensational hearsay and reckless dishonesty, rhetoric. That's quite revealing, Ben, is it? Well, I meant what I said there. Not only is this dismissive of principles proven in this very video, but also confirms your own biases take precedent over good evidence. No, it doesn't, Steve. It doesn't at all, because unchallenged lies become other people's truths. What lies are you talking about? If you don't show us what lies they are and why they're not true, that's rhetoric. They sit there and soak it up without showing or demanding credible evidence. Well, that is complete rhetoric, because that's a personal comment about people involved. And you mentioned it hinges on sensational hearsay and reckless dishonesty. Again, an accusation without evidence. So yeah, I meant what I said. Bart Sobral has consistently lied about Apollo, but you defended him without checking the veracity of his claims and or the facts, proving him a consummate deceiver. Walsh, Allen, Henderson, Williams, repeatedly caught telling lies and misrepresenting the public record. And no, Steve, we've already been through that, because you, like many NASA supporters and Apollo believers, you take certain inconsistencies and you blow them out of all proportion. So when someone says, someone says that Marcus actually at one point says no one's been to the moon, and then said no, it's the photographic record. These are continuity problems, which you then blow out of all proportion. And then I actually point out this. There's several times you've done this. You did this over his speech at Streaming Sources, where you try to say Marcus is saying this, and I went through it, and I said no, he's not saying that. So I am checking the veracity of these claims. Absolutely, I'm checking the veracity of your claims too. Stating the face and pyramids on Mars are intelligent constructions requires pretty substantive evidence. Is that some extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence? Is it? Yeah, right. Well, you know something, Steve. Seeing as we're in the mood for being very witty and original, I think the idea that there's face and pyramids on Mars, I think it's open-minded to say these things, but I think you shouldn't be so open-minded that your brain falls out. Because you didn't prefix these assertions with "in my opinion," so where's the video of you explaining why your position is just better than NASA's? All right, okay, so now we're talking. This is now you're now criticizing me because I don't make every single word I say some kind of document checked over by a lawyer. So in other words, the script of this video is just not, I don't actually go through the transcript. I don't send this off to the DOPSA or something and say, could you please watch this video, spend a couple of months going through every single word I say, and then send it back to me so I can upload it. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to prefix everything with "in my opinion." I'm going to assume that that's obvious in the context of the greater structure of my sentences and text and my words. 1. If your claim has no material evidence, then asserting the face is a built structure is a lie. Yeah, I mean, if you say there's evidence, then there isn't. Yeah, but there is evidence. There is. 2. The Ades and Woos never challenge each other with "whoa, stop, how do you know that?" Are wrong. In fact, I've given you an example of Jarrah White. Jarrah White is always doing that to us. 3. Sobral, the Ades, and you prove quite comfortably that you value sensation higher than converging evidence. Example, please. There's nothing wrong with being rhetorical when its 3 main philosophical pillars of persuasion are the foundations of the subject at hand. Chief among these pillars is evidence, and I've proven my points with example, verbatim quotes, and facts. Well, you've presented verbatim quotes. And I think that I've explained why those verbatim quotes have been misrepresented or misunderstood. You use rhetoric all the time, but only partially, and in its more amateurish and common deployment. Well, I'm not without bias myself. I'm not without bias myself, and I admit that. It's the skeptics who say they have no bias are the most biased people of all. Rhetoric requires logos, ethos, and pathos. You just pile on the last two because you literally have no logos. I think I do have a logos, but that's just logic. Ethos is just what's right and wrong. Pathos is just feeling, Logos, logic. In Greek philosophy, the structure of rhetoric as a method of argumentation and audience appeal. Well, yeah, I mean, it's okay to use rhetoric up to a point, but not when you're substituting it for logos, which is what you do, which is what you skeppers do all the time. It's like you say, if I can be very dismissive in a very scathing way, I don't need to explain why this person is wrong. Key components include Aristotle's triad, logos, ethos, and pathos. Logos being an effective use of facts, reasoning to construct an argument. Fact: you have no material evidence the face on Mars is constructed beyond hearsay, sensational assertion, and the use of dishonest and faulted rhetoric. Will never be challenged from the audience. Wrong. I've explained to you firstly. It's the whole Sidonia complex and the very strange constructed look of it, plus the fact there is evidence of suppression of there is distinct reason to think NASA is suppressing evidence to prevent it being investigated. So you're wrong completely in everything you say here. How am I doing for time? Okay, nearly done for this 1 hour. Over the moon. Why do you think you fall out with so many people? I don't fall out with that many people. I fall out with a few people. And the reasons are varied. But it's not because of opinion. I don't fall out with people because of what they believe. It's because of their conduct. So the last few people I've fallen out with, good example being Andrew Johnson. It's not because he said something I disagree with and I think is just horrible or something. It's because of his behaviour. The fact that when Ian R. Crane died, he behaved in a way I think is pretty appalling. When I challenged him on this issue, he then just doubled down and refused to admit he'd done anything wrong. As a result, this was an irreconcilable difference, so we parted company. Professor Emlyn-Jones said, "They are Huffalo Dowder and Eclipsey most by his Falstaffe shadow girth and irrefutable fact loaders. Lesser Beals are all shrinkly and intimidale." I think that's true, yes. my Falstaffe shadow girth, yes, that's quite something. Lesser Beals are shrinkly and intimidale. Well, some people maybe are. I think some people just don't. Some people just clash with my personality. And I know, though, you say lesser Beals are shrinkly and intimidale. I think some people were intimidated by me when I was a hospital porter. There's this guy who I think he was intimidated because he was a former HP. I've discussed this many times on the St. Theo's video. There's a guy called Jack. He was a HP. He went on to become an operating department practitioner. And he got very upset with the fact that I didn't want to do the same. And I was proud to be a porter. And this I think, made him feel insecure. And that's why he was so horrible to me, I think. Has Jim Carrey been cloned? Check it out, folks. Ah, yes. This is a bit weird, this. I've seen this. Here we are. Jim, there's a new picture of him just been released. Well, it looks totally different to what he was like before. Face. Here we go. Look. He's apparently changed. Look, this is a good one. Here, look, then plastic surgeon reacts to Jim Carrey's new face. Now, I think they're the same person, but you can see there's a lot of difference there. I mean, for example, he's clearly a few years older in this image. But I can see, look, and here's another one. I think they're the same person. In this one, they really look different, don't they? In this particular image, they really look different. Hope you can see that. You can, yeah. Yeah. He's obviously, he may have had some plastic surgery done. I don't know. His hair, look, his hairline's gone back, which it's gone grey, as you expect as he got older. His eyes are different shape, though, aren't they? If you notice, his eye shape is different. I don't know quite what to make of that. I really don't. It's very, very strange indeed. It's very strange indeed. Anyway, we're at the end of hour number 1, so we're back for hour number 2 shortly. And welcome to part 2 of this reply to comments video, the 125th. Yes, 125, the famous railway locomotive. Okay, guys, so let's carry on from where we left off. We have Over the Moon in 124, who says here, oh, hang on, I've got to get, what happened? Oh, where's the timestamp? There we are. That's it. Over the Moon says here, I was watching my view count on the big screen. I was watching my view count on the big screen yesterday while working on some scripts and saw that familiar heartbeat. The view spiked, then dipped, then rose again. It's sitting at 24 views now, which feels about right from the start. Although usually I hit my 50 to 100 mark within the first hour, I'm not worried about being shadow banned. It's really just the algorithm doing the heavy lifting of sorting real human engagement from the bots that are swarming the web right now. I'll send you a script later to show you just how easy it is for these bots to operate. People use them on videos of all sorts of reasons these days, often without the creator even knowing. Oh, this is the dead internet theory, Over the Moon, isn't it? A dead internet, yeah. I was just talking about this with someone today, actually. As a guy I know who lives in Oxford, and I meet up with him sometimes, you know. I mean, you see, this is the thing. You've got subscribers. I've got about 8,000 subs now. I think it's past 8,000. How many of them are real people? You know what I mean? It's tough to realize just how fast the ground has shifted under our feet. I think you might have reached a point where the world has moved into a version of the future that doesn't even look like the internet you remember. Back in the days of Yahoo and early Google, Nostalgia. Oh dear, do you remember the old PHPB forums? Yeah. Oh, the David Icke forum, and Above Top Secret and Godlike Productions. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness me, I'm not telling you an old git. The web was like a digital library, a place you visited to look things up and then stepped away from. But things have moved on so quickly. We've transitioned from simply searching for information to living in a world of AI and robotics that doesn't just wait for a prompt. It anticipates, creates, and acts. It isn't just about websites anymore. It's about intelligent systems managing our daily lives and physical machines doing the heavy lifting without even realizing it. It's easy to stay at the starting line while the technology evolves into something entirely new. It's not that you can't catch up, but the internet, as you once knew it, simply isn't the reality we're living in anymore. Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. Oh, blimey, yeah. I think I'm like kind of... It is kind of like the Wizard of Oz. It is a bit like the Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. It's easy to say that, but I mean, of course, that's a big... Maybe it'll turn out happily like it does in real life. But, at the moment, I mean, you may have seen my video, should we welcome our robot overlords? I'm actually working on possibly a part 2 or a new version of that or an update on that, because things have changed quickly, and I am having trouble keeping up. I mean, it is hard to, seeing as I am sort of like from the generation that maybe just discovered the internet. I'm probably the first generation of kids to be brought up on computer games and to have entered adulthood in the internet world, while in my childhood it didn't exist. So I think people like Gen Xers and people like me are kind of in a unique historical position. Whereas somebody like my daughter, for example, she's had this all her life. She's a bit older actually. She's 31, but she's had these things all her life. And there's people like it's like, I think that puts me in a very, very unique historical position. And it's a weird thing. It's a weird kind of like situation, isn't it? I'm like this first generation of people who didn't have this in my childhood, but have had it in my entire adulthood. So the world has changed enormously, yeah, and I have trouble keeping up with it. I have trouble realizing how things are different. And personally, if your point is that I'm not being shadow banned as a result, I don't agree with that for the reasons I've explained. I mean, YouTube themselves have admitted they are deprioritizing borderline content, and the fact that I've had so many videos banned indicates how borderline I am. Anyway, Professor says, "Have you follow-upped? You're in my load." Kansas, Aussie Whizloader, Old Man Saggy Most, and Bocus follow-up behind the Kerr trail there. Well, flashy news load, and break it in your eardroves. The wizardy Ozloader isn't real. Now, 4 square on your Bocus, take a Valley load paper bag and breathe it. Okay, Valley and paper bag. Yes, yes, that's right. Wizard of Oz. It's not real, but it's an extraordinary piece of work. And the thing is, when I saw it when I was a kid, I kind of found it. The bit that upset me, which bit upset me the most? It wasn't any of the scary things in Oz. It wasn't the flying monkeys. It wasn't the witch melting. It wasn't any of the things that normally scare people. It was the scene where the old bag. The witch in the real world, the witch in the Kansas witch, I've forgotten the name, Mrs. Crutchley or somebody. She turns up at Aunt Em and Aunt Em and Uncle what's his name's house, who the people bringing up Dorothy, and she demands that they hand the dog over so she can take it away to be euthanized. And then they begin by saying, "Oh no, we can't let that. We would never let Toto, Dorothy lose her beloved Toto." And then she starts threatening them with like getting a court order and things like this. I can't remember the exact script. And they immediately cave in and just hand Toto over to this horrible old woman, who they all know, including Dorothy, that she's going to take the doggy away to his death. And Dorothy's guardians did nothing to stop her. That's what really upset me, because I remember thinking to myself, even when I was like, I must have been like 5 years old at the time, 6 years old, something. I remember thinking to myself, would my mum and dad do the same thing in that position? And that question really, really upset me when I was a kid. Oh, by the way, guys, I've had an email from somebody who is actually a regular viewer. He thinks he's found an ancient statue of me. It's this one here. The Huntcliffe figure, Saltburn by Sea, unknown artist, possibly British Iron Age. It's this thing here. It actually does have that look, actually, that kind of Brittonic Celtic look. It's that sort of style. I saw other statues. There's statues in the area around Bath, near the Bath House in Bath, that's like this. And basically, this was found on a beach here, this place here, Saltburn, Old Saltburn, and put outside that pub, the Ship Inn. They placed it on a pedestal, and it's suffered some damage over the years, including someone called Derek carving his name on it, and no doubt some drunks have pissed on it and things like that. And so they decided to put it in a museum. It's very worn. I mean, they're not even sure when it was made. Some people said it was 4,000 years old, which would put it back in like the Bronze Age. But the latest figure is 800 BC, which would put it in the Iron Age. And indeed, the style of the face is very Celtic, which indicates it's more recent. But it's an interesting thing, though, isn't it? I mean, it's interesting now, and they actually see, Derek, if you read this, please get in touch, meaning they probably want to sue him or castigate him. And you see it's been broken in two there as well. It's now in a museum anyway, but you look, it's worn away and stuff like that. The Huntcliffe figure and the Dorman Museum. So there you are. But anyway, this person thought that was me. It looks a bit like me. It's thought to be a fertility figure. They're not sure if it's male or female. Some people claim it's a pregnant woman. It said here, after a call out to Twitter, one follower revealed they like to rub its stomach when the museum staff aren't looking. Dear. So there you go. Does it look like me? Maybe it's one of my Boudica moments going back in time. I don't know. But anyway, that was an interesting thing there. Very interesting sort of like setup there. Anyway, it's Lewis. Hello, Lewis. 124. Ben, it's right. I see. It's Lewis's Dark Corners UK. Right. I see. So we have another. Looks like we've got. Let me just get the timestamp again. It looks like we have another individual here with a new name, and people do change their names sometimes. So okay, it's Lewis, right? It's you. Okay, right. So I'll expect that it's you. Okay, so I'll know now that it's you. Right, you are. Sorenable, hello, Sorenable. 124. Sorenable says, if you're ever in Clonakilty, West Cork, please do give a call, Ben. I'd love to meet you, mate. Oh, thanks, Sorenable. Oh, Clonakilty, West Cork. Right. Oh my goodness me. Do you know I actually was there many years ago? I went there. I went to Cork and I went to Tramore. It was beautiful, lovely, beautiful. I'll tell you, it's one of the nicest Tramore is one of the nicest seaside places I've ever been to. It's beautiful. It's these sand dunes right across County Cork on the south coast of Ireland. It's absolutely a beautiful, beautiful place. I didn't know you in those days, but yeah, that's back in the late 90s. That wasn't it? But yeah, I'll write you. If I ever go back there, I will, Sorenable. I'll come and meet up with you, definitely. Red Ibex says, do you support skeptic comedians like Izzy Lawrence? Would you attend a gig? Yes. I didn't actually attend a gig of Izzy Lawrence, but she did do a performance at Tam London, which I thought was pretty funny. I mean, it's kind of like skeptic jokes, but it's quite funny. It really, really is quite amusing, So yeah, I do support skeptic comedians. Steve Polish says here. Bill Casing says, quote, I've got a good answer for this. In 2 years maximum, 2 years, 1974 to 76, he decided to basically screw his entire reputation because of the advice of what Charlie Veitch calls a crackhead. That to me seems unlikely. Yes. And that's a quote by me. Steve says, to listen to the unambiguous assertions made by you in the 80s about abductions, alien presence, chemtrails, and Apollo, Oh, don't include the first three with the ADs. That's only I talk about that. The ADs won't touch that sort of thing. Jarrah White won't. He's Jarrah is he's very, very straight down the line with these sort of things. It seems unlikely you would misrepresent your research abilities, make silly mistakes, tell half the story, or out and out lie. But you do all of it. You all do it frequently. What reputation or acclaim did he have prior to his denial book? It's amazing where you look for an angle, Ben. Casing is known for his denial book. Nothing more and nothing before. All right, so what you're saying is, Steve, that because he had no bad reputation, he had no reputation at all in the public domain, good or bad, are you therefore saying that Bill Casing had no motive at all to make up, had a motive, he had a motive to make up this, sorry, he did have a motive to make up this, so he could build a bad reputation? Is that your point? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make, as I've said before, it doesn't make any sense because there's so many other ways he could have done this. There's so many easier, less troublesome, more assured and more certain ways of doing that. So, for example, this person he met, this guy, this homeless guy, I'm sure he was angry about his government. I mean, a lot of Vietnam vets were, and in fact, the whole country was. But there was so many. What's the word? There were so many what you might call genuine. This green screen's flopping again. Genuine critiques of that in the public domain at that time about the specific reason that they were angry with their country. Why make shit up? Doesn't make sense. Okay. Bill Casing is regularly touted as a whistleblower on Rocketdyne for falsifying F1 thrust data. I think we've been through this. All right. You are now repeating something you said before. Okay. And says that seems unlikely. And basically, I'm not going to read this out. But basically, Steve is repeating what he said before about the F1 engine thrust data and how Bill noticed they were falsifying it, and this is the reason he left Rocketdyne. And why did it take him so long to blow the whistle, etc.? And so Steve says, that seems unlikely response doesn't change the fact that you defend and stand in league with such proven liars and never ask or check where the evidence is, because the evidence is secondary to the sensational assertion. You think it's reasonable to expect full disclosure from government, military, and security agencies. So why aren't you exposing or questioning some of the loudest lies in the Apollo conspiracy? Well, firstly, I don't stand in league with proven liars. In fact, if they are proven to be lies, I won't. And in this case, this I think is open to interpretation, what you're talking about here. I'm not going to denounce Bill Casing, a man who's died and can no longer speak up for himself. Based on what your assertions alone, we know that you NASA supporters do misrepresent people. You've misrepresented Marcus. You misrepresented not you personally, but somebody of your ilk misrepresented what Marcus said at the Dreaming Source. I think it was Steve Mumbling, actually. So I'm afraid I'm not going to take your word for this. And you say I never check or ask what evidence is. I do that all the time. And the evidence is not secondary to a sensational assertion. I do want to know what's true or not. I do. This is why we had Blue Earth thing on. This is why I talk to people like you. Now, your last sentence about disclosure from government, military, and security agencies. I expect full disclosure. That does sound, and I think you might have a point here, because I think there's an element of the Freudian father figure at work in my own personality and indeed in the culture at large. There's even a passage in my book about it where two of the characters have this very discussion. So yeah, that's actually, I mean, the answer is I don't have a full answer for that. Indeed, the thing about it is, I've often said, though, should we trust the government? Should we trust them to do disclosure? I mean, I've got this idea that maybe there's a faction now of, say, white hats that are trying to overturn the malevolent aspects of government, but I don't know that. I mean, I thought it was Trump, and Trump has now shown himself to be just another insider. And the reason I'm not exposing or questioning the loudest liars in the Apollo conspiracy is because you're calling them liars. You are asserting that they are liars. These people have had no trial. There's been no tribunal. I actually think we should have a tribunal. I've actually even made a video about it. Again, guess what? I've made a video about it, yes. Would you be willing to subject them to this idea I have? Is Shield Squad Tribunal update. There you go. Shield Squad Tribunal 3. I've done loads of these, you see. I've done loads. It's Caroline Stevens, Caroline Stevens blocked me because she just read. Caroline Stevens blocked me because she read a 33-page piece of crap about me. But according to you, this is exposure. This is exposing me as a fraud. And Caroline believed it, and she turned against me. I mean, she has unblocked me since then, but she never apologized to me. She never retracted what she said about me based on this ridiculous Sharon Kilby document. I've done an entire video like a reply to Caroline Stevens. So was Caroline right to do that? Because if your answer is no, then why should I simply take your word for it that Bill Casing is everything you said he is, when this has not been subjected to any sort of formal debate? And the people on the NASA side are dishonest as well. And I'm not talking about you personally, but there are people on the NASA side who are dishonest too. And indeed, I've had trolls. I've been trolled really, really badly over this, the Team Droid thing and stuff like that. Right, ESP says on Loose Ends, put a pink onesie on and stash a rounders bat down the front. That should show up your views. That should up your views a bit. Oh, and don't forget the drum kit. I think you're cool. Oh, thank you very much. I don't think I'm going to go quite to that length, if you don't mind. Loose Ends again, and we have the Cat of Joy. That's a good name. The Cat of Joy. What a great name. What's your favourite sandwich filler? What animal do you like the best? My friend had a nightmare. A gigantic sturgeon flew into her bedroom, then had another pile of Amazonian rainforest creatures dropped from the ceiling onto her bed. What interesting nightmares have you had? Where'd you get your clothes, tea or coffee? My goodness, what a list of questions here. Where do I start? My goodness me. Favourite sandwich filler is probably... It's probably like... cheese and lettuce, or cheese and celery chopped up with some mayonnaise or some salad cream. That's my favorite sandwich filler. My favorite animal's probably, I think it's probably dolphins. Certainly dolphins, whales, one of those creatures. I don't know which one exactly, but I love the cetaceans. I think they're wonderful. That's a quite alarming nightmare. I've had some interesting nightmares. Yeah, I've had some pretty interesting nightmares. Yeah, some of them are quite... I don't have many nightmares, luckily, because if you have lots of nightmares, it's a sign of psychological problems, which I don't have, of course. But there was one where I was in this really horrible room. It was like my bedroom, but something wasn't quite right. Things were out of the way. The posters were different. And then I suddenly look. This is when I was a kid. This is the room I lived in when I was a kid. And I looked out my window, and someone placed a ladder against the window ledge, and this creature climbed up. It was like some monstrous creature. And I remember it had winkle picker shoes on its hands. And I saw it get to the top and grab the top rung with its winkle pickers, and it climbed. Funny enough, there was no glass in the window. The window was shut, but there was no glass. And it climbed through what should have been glass, and it came up to me going, "Ah!" That was really scary. That was a scary one. I had that when I must have been about 10 years old when I had that nightmare. I've never forgotten it. Where'd you get your clothes? I buy them from, usually I'm not a snappy dresser. I just get them cheap. Usually I don't go to big boutiques. I often get them from charity shops. These t-shirts I order them because they're like themed. And so I just order them from cheap places, or I go to charity shops to get some of them. Otherwise I just order cheap ones online. Tea or coffee? Both, although not in the same mug. And we have the one and only Steve mumbling on 124. You tell us you confused McCandlish with someone else who presumably shot himself in the back of the head twice, but you don't tell us who this is. Who shot themselves in the back of the head twice? I can hardly wait to check this out, lol. And yet again, you skip over the evidence question. I say there's zero tangible evidence to support even when E.T. come here crashing his story, and you say, yes, there is, but you never present any FFS. Okay. All right. I had a feeling this might come up. All right. If you do something wrong, all right, you make a mistake or you do something bad, either through weakness, inaction, even or malice or rage, and you do something bad, okay, and then you apologize for it. You say, and you correct yourself and you apologize for it, and you offer an apology to any people who might have been hurt by what you said in an attempt to make restitution, right? That should be the end of the discussion. It should be the end of the discussion. And if it's not the end of the discussion, you need to explain why. All right. Why would somebody want to carry on talking about a subject of which I've already apologized, and they want to keep bringing it up over and over, and they want to bring it up again and again and again, and they want to keep on about it? And Steve, you're not the first person in my life to do this. I can absolutely assure you. You're not the first person in my life to keep dwelling on things I've done. I mean, other people have as well, including close members of my family. If I err and I make a mistake and I get something wrong, well, before you know it, they're really angry, and even after I've put right what's gone wrong, they will still bring it up months later, years later. They'll bring it up again. Now you've got to ask yourself, if people are doing that, why do they want to do it? Why do they want to do that? Is it just a convenient way of discrediting another person? Because you need to explain that, you're right. The answer to your first question is, I don't know, I can't remember who exactly specifically I was talking about. But I do remember hearing that there was a mysterious death where somebody apparently suicided themselves in that way. And the evidence didn't add up. It was not Mark McCandlish. I got that wrong. And I'm sorry, and I'm not apologizing again. I've apologized once. I'm only going to apologize once for that. So, Steve, if you either explain to me why you want to keep dwelling on this issue, or this particular subject is closed, understood? And as for the rest of what you said, I don't agree at all. I have presented evidence. I say yes, there is evidence for this, and I presented it. Okay, the whole Penturk video was about that. Right. Over the Moon says, there's a bill casing busted. What's this? Let's have a look what we got here. Bill casing busted. Oh, right. Is this the way he gets waxed?
I wish I could tell you that checking your tax and making claims on the HMRC app felt like this.
Dave McKeegan.
I wouldn't go that far.
Although
it is easier, and it will make you feel that little bit more on it.
For your money and tax, download the HMRC app today.
Let's have a look, shall we?
Horizon Europe's enabled our company to grow. Simple as that. It's enabled us to employ, to expand, to develop new technology.
So I do original interview.
Hello everybody, hope you're doing well and thanks for joining us for another video. There are many people these days who don't believe NASA landed on the moon in the 1960s, and many people consider the father of this conspiracy to be a gentleman by the name of Bill Casing.
Oh, this is 21 minutes long. Can I come back to this later, because it's 21 minutes here. But you say he's been busted. Okay, well, the phrase busted was invented. It was invented by S-Vector. Oh, there's a bit more over the moon. Some more internet nostalgia. Yes, do you remember S-Vector and the arguments he used to have with people? Oh, S-Vector, his little robot voice. Oh, do you remember Red Phantom? Oh my goodness me, I'm really getting nostalgic now. Yeah, but I mean, I'll have to watch that because it's 21 minutes there over the moon. I'm not going to watch that now. But you say he's busted, to quote S-Vector. Well, I'm not sure, because some of the people at S-Vector busted turned out that he was wrong. There was massive. Do you remember Green Magoose? Do you remember S-Vector versus Green Magoose? Oh, those videos were absolute classics. That was in the golden age of YouTube, man, the late 90s. In the late 90s, YouTube was like a paradise. It was like a halcyon world. And S-Vector and Green Magoose were a part of that. Are they still there? Let's just have a look. I'm just really, really curious now. I want to see if they're still there. I just want to see if those guys are still there. We're going on a really...
Hello everybody, hope you're doing well and thanks for joining us for another video. There are many people these days who don't believe NASA...
Is this him? S-Vector. There's several people. Oh yeah, here we go. Astronaut's Journey Beyond the Stars. Is this the same bloke? Is it? Surely not. 2 years ago. No. It's probably not him. Is there another one? Here's an S Vector as well. Oh, it is! My goodness me! Putting opportunistic grifters and landing knives in their place since 2007. I thought it was earlier than that, but God, wow. Is this S Vector? Oh my goodness me. What about Green Magoose? I can't believe these people are still here. Green M. Is this him? It is. He's still there. He uploaded 3 years ago. Oh no, he stopped doing moon landing stuff. He started on different subjects. 16 years ago. My goodness me. Yeah, he stopped doing he started doing these sort of landscape videos. I remember that. Oh my goodness me. Oh, so I'm gonna have to leave that behind now because this is just such nostalgia. All right. Oh, Professor Emlyn-Jones says 1 small stepply plonk for a beal, 1 giant phallop for beal kind. You know, Professor, wouldn't it be funny if Neil Armstrong had got out of the lunar module on the Nevada soundstage and spoken in Unwinese? Wouldn't that be cool? Pentac 10 first, says Red Ibex. Well done, Red. And 10. Oh, second by seconds, says Wow Signal. Well, you know, you get the silver tinfoil hat. Red Ibex. 6 minutes, actually. I'm number 1. So why try harder? 16 minutes. Dougie fresh on ya, says Wow Signal. And here we have Over the Moon, who says here. You're spot on, Ben. The USSR nailed those early firsts, but let's break it down with the actual timeline to show how the US was never far behind and was building real sustainable progress, while the Soviets were mostly tweaking old tech for quick wins. Sputnik 1, October 4th, 1957, kicked off the space race first satellite. 4 months later, Explorer 1 on January 1st, 1958. Not exactly miles ahead. Well, I think you've got to realize Over the Moon. I'll read. I've got a point I want to make about this. But yeah, Yuri Gagarin, first human, April 12, 1961. Alan Shepard, only 23 days later, May the 5th, 1961, suborbital flight. John Glenn nailed the first US orbital flight 10 months after, on February 20th, 62. That's a short lag, not some insurmountable lead. That's debatable. As for the first woman, Valentina Tereshkova, June 63, another first. But it was the same Vostok capsule of Gagarin's with a woman in the seat. Oh, man. No great leap tech there. Well, the feminists will cascade you for that. They'll demand your cancellation. First multi-crew mission, Voskhod 1, August 64, 3 cosmonauts, modified Vostok. Yanking out the ejection seat and skipping spacesuits. Risky as hell. Yeah, just for the first 3-man crew. Yeah. That was a bit, wasn't it? Voskhod 2, 65, did a 2-man crew first spacewalk, hacked together craft. US launched Gemini 3, first new 2-man spacecraft. 5 days later, for their Gemini racked up real milestones. First orbital rendezvous. Right, all the stuff the Soviets struggled with. The point is, after these initial splashes, the USSR stalled on innovation while the US surged with new programs. Mercury, Gemini to Apollo. The focus on reliability, new calculations, new capabilities, long-term goals. The idea that the US was allowed to catch up implies some conspiracy, but the facts show the US was always nipping at their heels, months, not years behind on key stuff, and it overtook with superior engineering. The Soviets were great at PR stunts, but the US won the race by actually advancing space technology. All right, well, you see, the thing is, all right, I've got a good answer for this, Over the Moon. You see, you're thinking of it in scientific and technical terms, right? You're thinking of the details, the wood inside the trees, or the trees inside the wood. But space exploration is not just about that. In fact, it's primarily not about that. The space race was primarily and foremost to do with politics, publicity, propaganda. And really, what we're looking at here is the Soviets getting all those firsts up until Apollo, which allowed the Americans back into the race. And I think there was an allow in terms of what this factor of politics, in terms of this factor of rhetoric, in terms of this factor of how people, not scientists, people who are passionate and people who know all the details, ordinary folks in the street, how they see it is what decides things like budget allocation, revenue, political clout regarding people in Congress who allocate funds to the space agencies and things like that. So that is why I think you're wrong here. Sure, you could say that well, that the US had these much better germanium diodes, but Mr. and Mrs. Upstate New York, Mr. and Mrs. Upstate New York, when they're sitting on their patio and looking up at the sky and seeing lights go over, which is rockets and satellites, they're not going to sit there and say that. They're just going to see, guys with hammer and sickles flying through the air, and they're doing it for the Americans. So I don't agree with you at all. I don't agree with you at all. And I think you've missed the point, really, by what you've just said here. And, Steve Polis chimes in here. On a side note, Voskhod 2 pipped Ed White's spacewalk by a few months and would appear to be the first instance of alleged space fakery due to some apparent inconsistencies between film footage, TV edits of the same, and old still photos. Goodness me, Steve, are you now a space conspiracy believer like me? Are you? Are you really now doing that? Are you really now joining me in the world of tinfoil hat notoriety? Funnily enough, there's people who said that even there's question marks over Yuri Gagarin's flight. It was also a borderline disaster, says Steve. Leonov couldn't get back in the capsule, oh my God, due to an overinflated spacesuit. Good, that's scary. That's scary. He would suffer the bends from deflating his suit. Oh God. Auto re-entry failed. Capsule came down in the wrong location in the Urals, and the crew spent 2 freezing nights before rescue. My God, that is a scary thing, yeah. NASA simply acquired the better German rocket engineers and thrashed out the engineering problems with joined-up thinking and teamwork. Russia didn't have enough money to put into manned spaceflight development, and so chalked up a few key firsts with missile motors and medium lift staging rockets. Well, I've just answered that point when replying to Over the Moon. Their priority at the time seems to have been subs and ICBMs. Arguably, if anyone had a motive to fake manned spaceflight in those days, it was Russia. Well, go on, Steve. Let's hear more about your conspiracy theories, shall we? Let's see how much of a woo-woo you are. Neil Peel says on Pentach 10, damn it, was involved in cooking. Oh, right. Is that why you couldn't go, Neil? Is that it? Did I tell you? I'm sure I told you about it. But anyway, Richard says here, superb stuff for Ben's top episode. Thank you very much, Richard K. Much appreciated. Glad you enjoyed it. And Red Ibex says, you can't have watched it all that quickly. And Cole Costello says, I concur. Oh. Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe he had it on double speed. I don't know. Teddy and Paddy Bears, that's a good name, says, hi, Ben. Hi, Teddy and Paddy Bears. How are you? How am I doing for time? And now we have Over the Moon, who says here, on 24. Let's be clear. Raza is a yoga teacher. That is his job. He's not a consultant for Chinese National Space Administration, Chinese Space Agency, as she wrongly calls it. I think he's a he. Don't misgender him, for goodness sake. Nor is he engineering energy plants for the government. The claim that he can broadcast state secrets because the Chinese government doesn't monitor banned sites like YouTube is a ridiculous fantasy. Well, I mean, yeah, if you look at TikTok, I mean, that's absolutely true, although maybe they want him to give this stuff out. The Great Firewall is not a blindfold. China uses deep packet inspection to monitor data even when users use a VPN. The idea that a foreigner could bypass the firewall and leak revolutionary energy tech and not be flagged by the Ministry of State Security is physically impossible. Unless they wanted him to, like I said, for some reason. Elastic state secret laws in China. State secrets include any information on national economy, technology, or infrastructure. If these 3 energy plants actually existed, they would be most guarded. They would be the most guarded secrets in human history. Sharing them on YouTube wouldn't just get you a strike; it would get you a life sentence for espionage. Well, if you think so, wouldn't you? Unless, like I said, this is some kind of disclosure. Foreign surveillance. Foreign nationals are high priority targets for surveillance. Every SIM card and internet account is tied to a passport. If he were truly blabbing about top-tier government projects, he'd be detained within hours. Silence of science. If China had broken laws of physics to create free energy, every intelligence agency and scientific journal on Earth would be talking about it. Oh, dearie me. How naive can you get? Instead, the only source is a yoga teacher on YouTube. Well, it could be he was chosen to be the one that they maybe want to put some information out for whatever reason. But if you know this idea, what you said here is just so unbelievably naive. Do you watch Rich Planet? I hope you're not a backslap, or you're going to go crazy that I called you this. Please do watch this episode, these 2 episodes here. There's this one here, design and build of an end machine. This end machine here, right? Just watch this and watch the follow-up videos, because you'll realize that it's simply so unrealistic to say, well, all the scientific journals would be talking about it if it were real. Anyway, Steve says it isn't a secret because it's classified. It's a secret because it's nonsense. To believe his excuses is to ignore how international espionage and digital surveillance actually works in the 21st century. Well, I'm not so sure, Steve, for the reasons I've said. Penta 10, Arts Channel. I'm the only alien in the village. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm sure that Little Britain would love that, wouldn't they? And Arts Channel said it looks like a craft, the lights. Yeah, it was a strange craft of some kind, Arts Channel, yeah. Over the Moon says on 124, Ben's right and every movie company's advertising department is wrong. Gosh, if only they were as smart as Ben. Well, Over the Moon, I'm hope they'll catch up with me at some point. Professor Emlyn-Jones, Correca's full staffy most has Boundrail Wisdy and a second Forsyth Telepofowl. Telepofowl, that's a good one. Not the smartly wise as Professor Bryle Coxloader. Oh no, but close. So you have a brain bocker after all, and not just chattery drivelode Fizgog. Run it, Fizgog, run it there. I don't know quite what the last bit means, but yeah, I have Forsythy Telepole. Yes, that's how I know these things. Yeah. The thing about it is, though, I mean, even Professor Simon Holland was saying this, that you claiming copyright on movie trailers is stupid. It's just pointless. It's counterproductive. I mean, why? Your explanation? I was sarcastic earlier on, but your explanation really makes no sense. Over the Moon. They have a certain policy about distribution. Well, could you explain some more? Do one of your little AI things. Ralph Winter says on Penta 10, nice one, Ben. Wonderful vid. Thank you, Ralph. Much appreciated. Glad you enjoyed that. Arts Channel. Do you think the aliens were after the sheep? Well, it's Wales. Who knows? I mean, funnily enough, it's funny you say that. It's funny you should say that. But the Lincolnshire Triangle? Again, there's a Rich Planet show about that. It's funny you should bring that up because in the Lincolnshire Triangle there was a strange instances of like an egg-shaped UFO being appearing in various places, and in one point they actually crashed into a wind turbine, and at the same time about 1,000 sheep mysteriously disappeared from several farms. It's been put down to rustlers, but there's no evidence that any rustlers were about. For example, rustlers will use large lorries and things like that, and they need sheepdogs and things to get the sheep into the lorries. This would have been the biggest sheep rustling operation in history, and it never happened. And there's no evidence for it. So where did those sheep go? Worth watching, I think. So sometimes they do take sheep. And as Linda Moulton Howe pointed out, Sheep are sometimes found dead with the same injuries as the cattle. You know, the strange mutilations. Same video, nothing as it seems, says, if I might insert the steaming piles ready from the Western Australian skeptic preemptively. Ah, yes. I'm actually going to do a reply video to Steve Mumbling pretty soon, because yeah, because I'm actually going to do a reply video to Steve Mumbling pretty soon. Yeah, I'll go into that later, but yeah, because he's made a couple of videos about Penta. He made them years ago, and I should reply to him. The Cat of Joy. That's another good name, and a great name that on Penta 10. Is your birth name Ben or Benjamin? It's Benjamin, but no one's called me that since I was a little kid, and my mum used to say Benjamin or Benjamin because he was a Dutch woman. Benjamin. Were you into UFOs as a child? Yes. And I know I was, because I got Osborne's Book of UFOs. I've got it. I've got a copy. I bought this when I was a little kid, and I read it voraciously. I've managed to pick up another copy of it. Osborne's Book of UFOs. Here we go. Have you seen this? This is great. This is, I mean, it's like, it just gives you a basic overview of the whole thing. The World of the Unknown, UFOs. $7.99. It's still available. $7.99. Oops, get out of the way. It's a new edition, but yeah. It's just, I think it was PDF'd at one point, but I think the PDF's gone now because it's commercially available. But yeah, you can actually you can buy it. Yeah, you can get a hold of it. This book is amazing. It really, really is. And it's a new edition. Yeah. But it's the same book, written in the late 70s. Here's a page from it. What is a UFO? Oh, do get this, man. It's really cool. It's a really cool book. But I read that when I was like a little kid. I remember reading that when I was, oh God, how old was I? 8, 9 years old, something like that. When did you last go swimming? Oh, when did I last go swimming? I think it was in 2016. I think I went swimming in 2016. As you know where it was? It was at that Conscious Tribal gathering in North Wales. I went swimming in the river there. I think that was the last time. It really was. Pity that, isn't it? I collect apple pips. Apple pips. All right. Well, you know they're full of B17. It's helps protect you from a certain disease, which I can't say. What physical items do you collect? You ask all these questions you're asking me. You collect apple pips. I collect, what is it? What do I collect? Nothing. I think just books. I collect books. Or maps. I collect maps as well. I've got a collection of maps, but nothing like, I don't collect stamps or anything like that. Ever worn a beret? Yes, I have. And it's when I was taking a piss out of a Veach. I've done other comedy videos about Charlie Veach as well. Look here. I can show you this. This is my earlier comedy video about Charlie Veach. That was years ago, man. That was years ago. That's me in a beret. Oh, that was fun. That was fun. Marmalade or jam? Both. But marmalade only on toast. I can actually eat jam on either toast or bread, but marmalade has to be toast. We'll throw in peanut butter as an extra choice. That's it for now. All right. Well, thank you for that fascinating list of questions, Cat of Joy. I love peanut butter as well. Again, only on bread, not toast. Holly Allen Raven says, what do you think of lemon marmalade or lemon and lime marmalade? Mayonnaise is Ben's food lubricant of choice. Yes, she knows that. Holly Allen knows I love mayonnaise. I do, yes. As for, I've never had lime marmalade, only orange. I've never had lime or lemon, only orange. Okay, so where are we now? Yeah, 69 Phuket says on Pentac 10, could have been lampers. They go out at night hunting badgers and stuff. Oh my goodness, this was, look, 69 Phuket, this was the explanation that someone attempted to provide for another famous Welsh case, the Berwyn Mountains incident of 1974. And it's not true. Scott Felton has looked into that. The Alan says, bunnies. Funnily enough, we did come across some. What's the word? We came across when I went to Devon. We came across some poachers. Do you remember the scene where we suddenly hear gunshots? And Diana, my companion, she immediately does a big runner because she's a country girl. She knows what it means. I was just stood there, I think. So we were at risk. We managed to get out of there. Penta 10. Rhiannon says, Ben, don't hate me for saying it. I would never hate you, Rhiannon. Never. I have to say it. Clearly, something spectacular, anomalous, and deeply weird was seen on the night of the 26th of February 2016 by Kaz and Dave. However, to jump from what was seen and the information that has been gleaned, interpreted, and procured since then via research to conclude it was aliens is a massive assumption. I think we have to keep an open mind about exactly what it was, because ultimately there is not evidence to conclude confidently what it was, and certainly not to conclude it was definitely an alien craft which the military were chasing. What if this is all highly secret military tech, or some high-level engineer or some such had some psychotic episode and stole it, obliging the government to shoot him down? Unlikely, certainly, but not impossible, and also no less likely than it being aliens. What if it was some kind of holographic experiment that went horribly wrong, again, was hijacked by some technical assistant from Lockheed Martin, suffering with paranoid schizophrenia, who was convinced the pilot had been servicing his wife? Again, unlikely, but not impossible. It also explains why the government would claim Section 23's and deem it sensitive info not to be disclosed to the public. There are numerous possibilities as to what exactly happened, all fascinating and all very worthy of research. However, I won't commit myself to the alien mast until there is compelling evidence to indicate it had to be aliens as opposed to something else. I just don't think we have that evidence yet. Please don't think me a backslapper. I'm just thinking critically because I think we have to. Fair enough. I don't hate you, of course I don't. And you know what? I don't think you're a backslapper either. But what you've come across is I wouldn't say you're a skeptic, because if you were a skeptic, you'd just say, military exercise flares, military exercise flares, military exercise flares. But what you've come across is actually an interesting alternative hypothesis, which can't be ruled out. I don't think it can be ruled out. But that being said, however, you think this is more like it's equally, certainly not impossible, less likely than it being and no less likely than it being aliens. I think possibly it is. But it would. I mean, if some engineer decided to steal an object, yeah, you would see the same thing. You would see something being shot down. The same thing with the idea that it's a hologram or something like that. Yeah, that is another possibility. I'm pretty confident that it's more. I think it's more likely to be extraterrestrial than that, but it can't be ruled out. Yeah, these other ideas you have, these other theories, do deserve to be looked into. However, when you put it into context with other similar events, like the Berwyn Mountains incident, which I've just mentioned, which was also in Wales, they can't all be that. There must be an ET presence, which we know is true. Whereas top engineers who have psychotic episodes, which is very unlikely when you consider how carefully they vet these people and monitor them, is, I think, less likely. Same with the holographic experiments. Of course, they do have problems with wives being serviced and things like that. I mean, this is an ongoing problem in humanity, unfortunately, with relationships. But again, you'd have to ask yourself, with all the monitoring and all the vetting, would he do that sort of thing? So even though it's possible, I think it is less likely than it being aliens. But thanks for that comment. Very interesting comment. Over the Moon 7124. You asked why your views dropped significantly in 2018. You actually answered your own question when you mentioned in a previous video that your watch time and retention are low. In 2013, YouTube officially pivoted its algorithm to prioritize watch time over clicks. They stopped caring if someone just clicked. They only cared if the fewer stayed for the full duration. If audience found the content repetitive, hearing the same recycled information stories they'd heard before, and clicked away early, algorithm tagged those videos as low quality, stopped recommending them. This caused a reach drop by 50% or more for channels that couldn't keep people glued to the screen. During this same period, YouTube changed the up next sidebar to be user-centric. Instead of showing more videos on the same topic, it began showing what that specific user usually watched elsewhere. Oh yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, if a viewer who normally watch sports clicked your video once, the sidebar will then suggest more sports rather than your next video. This broke the rabbit hole effect many channels relied on for consistent views. Finally, a massive upgrade to the content ID system began flagging third-party clips. Even if these videos weren't deleted, a matched content claim often resulted in the video being demoted in the search results. Essentially, if your attention is low and your clips are flagged, the algorithm fires your channel from the recommendation engine. The tricks for you work on, along with others, are to get your viewers to watch to the end. That's why many videos say watch till the end, Also, you should stop using the clips from other content. It's not a conspiracy against you, Ben. You just don't understand how the algorithm works. Right. Well, I disagree. I mean, actually, I don't think you're wrong about what you said in this comment, but you're wrong about the last sentence. Now, and I'm not going to tell people to watch till the end. I think that's when people say, please watch this video to the end. I mean, Angry Astronaut did that the other night. I sometimes think that's a bit of a tacky bit of clickbait tactics. I don't do that. I just make a video and I try to make it interesting enough so that people watch the whole thing. That's what I do. So I'm very well. I mean, I know that the click-through rate can be low, but the thing is, I believe my click-through rate is actually false, certainly on TikTok. And for reasons I've explained, you know, my Charlie Veitch video, the Charlie Veitch comedy video, I explain how basically the average view was just 10 seconds. And only less than 10% of the viewers watched it to the end. And I've had 267 viewers, and that hasn't gone up since November. At the same time, I have more comments than I do people who watch the whole video. That doesn't make sense. And there's been other instances on Blogger where I've had more comments than unique views, according to the statistics. And also, you say I should stop using clips from other content. No, I won't, because a lot of my videos are reviews, which means I do have to analyze other content, content from other users, sometimes playing a large amount of it. Sometimes in some cases, I will play all of it and claim, and it's necessary, though, for reasons I explained in my little tussle with Skeptic of the North. I explained, you know, I had to, if I hadn't played all of his video and analyzed every single second, people would just accuse me of cherry picking, and that's why I did it. So no, I'm not going to stop using clips from other content, because then I'd have to stop doing these review videos, and I'm not going to do that. It is a conspiracy, and the reason is because YouTube essentially have admitted it. I mean, I do understand how the algorithm works because YouTube have told us. It's true, what you said earlier, I wasn't aware of the details, although I had noticed the sidebar changes. In fact, I've noticed that that YouTube actually does this for me. It presents other. It doesn't present other videos from the channel. It presents other videos from which I've been similar to the ones I've watched before. So I knew that without really understanding exactly what's happened. I noticed it happening. And but you know, YouTube have essentially admitted they're doing this. They've admitted they are going to deprioritize borderline content. I mean, you must know this. And so if they're going to do that, and then suddenly my views start dropping, maybe that's why. Because my content, you know, I've had 19 videos banned. My channel has had a strike on it, which has been mysteriously deleted. But the fact of the matter is, you know, I am a borderline channel, which means there is a conspiracy. There is a conspiracy against channels like mine. In the same way, there was a conspiracy with Alexei Leonov. It wasn't you, it was Steve Polish, who's basically, you know, Steve Polish is now a conspiracy theorist. He says the Alexei Leonov, the first spacewalk, it was all faked. You know, the Soviet space agency they were faking missions. Yeah. So you're wrong. That you're sort of right and wrong in that comment. Professor Emlyn-Jones says, "Follock, you, sir, are a Dunkley most. It's the lizard overlordy, reptilo shapeshifty, skulking through the government corridors, flip-flopping between human face mode and scaly most iguana doom lordage. All put it in the squeezy levers, trying to follow-up communicale with portly Ben Loader." Leaving it, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure most people could work out what that Unwinnies was. I mean, basically, I know this is Professor is being kind of like facetious here, but basically, what he said is true. That's exactly what's happening. Penta 10. International conference in Denmark sounds rather grand. How many people attended? From how many countries? Where was the venue? Oh, I think you know the answer to that, which is why there's a note of sarcasm. I think you're setting me up for a gotcha, aren't you? Over the moon. Well, I showed you which video it was. It was this one, facing the Danes. You know the answer. You just want me to say it, don't you? As if you're going to score some kind of point over me. This is this one here, facing the Danes. Yeah, please do watch it. It's quite a long video, but it covers my entire trip to Denmark. And it is grand. I mean, how many people attended? Probably about 40, all from Denmark. And the venue was in this it was in this kind of community center in Copenhagen, where there was a little restaurant and there was like a cafe, and then you go behind, there was like a function room. What point are you trying to make here, Over the Moon? Why don't you just say it? All right. Why don't you stop these sort of hyperbole and oblique kind of insults, and just say, why don't you just say what you really want to say, which is this international conference in Denmark wasn't very grand, was it? It was in the back room at a community centre with just a few people, because you know the answer to all these questions, don't you? But so I'm not trying to hide it. And the thing is, if you think about the fact that, I mean, how many people literally go hundreds of miles to other countries to talk about aliens? Not many. So I think if your point is that I'm some kind of if you're kind of saying, oh well, Ben, you see delusions of grandeur, you know, I think that was your kind of I think that's what you're hinting at actually in your comment about the algorithms, your previous one. Okay, so now we have here Over the Moon again. Simple things, please, simple mind. Oh, here we go. The linguistic gibberish of Stanley Unwin was less a creative dialect and more a desperate phonetic fog designed to mask a total lack of comedic substance. If brevity is the soul of wit, Unwin was an eternal void where humour went to die. To call his performances is generous stretch. The core of Unwin's career rested on a one-trick pony exhausting trick, corrupting the English language into a mush of pseudo-intellectual nonsense. While fans might claim it required a nimble mind to follow, the reality was far more mundane. It was repetition masquerading as invention. Once you stripped away the deeply joy and goldy suffixes, there was no satire, no irony, certainly no punchline. It was a parlor trick for those who find mere sound of funny words more entertaining than actual jokes. It's telling that Unwin's CV is a graveyard of low-budget variety hours and filler segments. He was the ultimate budget saver for producers who needed 5 minutes of airtime occupied but couldn't afford a comedian with actual material. He thrived in an era of 3-channel television where the audience had little choice but to endure whatever eccentricity was hurled at them. He didn't speak to the viewers, he spoke at them, banking on the hope that he sounded confusing enough they might mistake their own bewilderment for amusement. Unwin's original routine was a test of patience. Professor Poppycock attempting to resurrect this Unwinese is a special kind of digital purgatory. A special kind of digital purgatory. I think Dante wrote a book about that. Yes. Someone translate the Divine Comedy into Unwinese, please. Abandon all hopey, ye who enter here bold. You know. There is something uniquely grating about a commentator who hides behind a 60-year-old linguistic gimmick because they lack a personality of their own. Copying a man who was already filler material in 1965 suggests a staggering lack of creative ambition. It's the pinnacle of performative cleverness for an audience that doesn't want to think, delivered by a person who has nothing to say. If Stanley Unwin was the background noise of the 1960s television, Professor Poppycock is the unskippable ad that most everybody wishes they could block. This is really witty stuff. In the comment below, I highlight why a YouTube channel should encourage viewers to watch videos all the way through without skipping or bailing out before the conclusion. Professor Poppycock is not enticing viewers to do that here. Far from it. So how is Professor Unwin going to respond to this? Unwin most. My, that grandly most bug or crawl it up your bocas, isn't it? Professor Unwin was a pioneer inventor of radio and telegoggle, electrical technolopers, rerounding and honour it there. Oh, yes. If you had swept away the tumble whirls rolling around that empty myload of cobwebbers and dusty most, you would know this. Deep folly. Good answer, mate. Yes, Over the Moon, you know, really, you need to be a theatre critic for The Guardian. You really do. I mean, you obviously have like a scathing wit about you, and you know, which is quite impressive. Even though I think you're unfair to Unwin, but you certainly go down well in the pages of the daily Pravda, as it's called now. Penta 10, Spaceman. You owe Greer $5,000, Ben, for bringing them in. Oh God, those lights, okay. Oh, they're his, aren't they? Yes. Oh, testosterone features. Yeah. I was in Penturk that night doing the CE5 protocols. I was indeed, and I brought those lights in, those orange lights you saw there. Yes, I did. They were drawn by my manly odor. Yes. Oh yeah. By the way, that plane flying over, dropping flares. Please ignore it. You owe me money for that, man. You owe me all this money that I have so much. Paul Will says on Penta 10, Ben, great reportage, interesting footage. I'm surprised other people there weren't interested in it. Did you get any of that cake? I didn't get the cake. Yeah, that's one thing I missed, unfortunately. Yes. Yeah. 1, 2, 4, and we have David Smith, who says here, Ben, I'm not Harry Price. If he claims something about cheesecloth, then yes, he has a burden of proof. Yeah, he does, exactly. As for me, my skepticism tells me to dismiss the claims of Helen because she offered no good evidence. I'd say cheesecloth is more probable because that at least can be demonstrated to exist, but I don't have to believe in the cheesecloth idea to dismiss the claims made by Helen. Yes, you do, David Smith, because firstly, you claim she offered no good evidence. Well, that's debatable. But replacing what you think might be what you think is a bad hypothesis with one that is basically which is physically possible but ridiculously unlikely and unfeasible, and indeed according to Will Goldston it wasn't even physically possible, then that is the clown's day off fallacy. You are committing the clown's day off fallacy. You've watched my skeptic videos, you know what I'm talking about there. So I don't agree. You're still confused on how this works? It's like me asking how many pennies I have in my wallet. Is the number odd or even? If somebody claims it's even and you don't believe them, then that does not mean the number is odd, right? For each claim, odd and even, you can accept or dismiss. They are separate claims. That is foundational. All right, David, that's just explaining the burden of proof issue, which I'm aware of. The problem is you can't then say, well, because you can't then say, well, if you're asking me if I have pennies in my wallet, and I say, well, no, I don't have pennies in my wallet, and then you say, you can say I have pennies in my wallet, I'm not going to show you, and then you can say, well, that means that you've actually got an invisible pink unicorn in your pocket. So there you do have a burden of proof, because that doesn't mean that I then have to disprove that you have a unicorn, I have a unicorn. I don't then have to disprove that. I don't have to prove I have an invisible unicorn in my pocket. You have to prove that I do, rather than I have to prove that I don't. You see what I mean? In the case of the mystical levitating super cheesecloth, or is that cheesecloth all the way down? Yes, Price did not produce anything other than, well, he produced some egg white and cloth, which could have come from somewhere, which he claims he cut off. And then he said, well, that has to be the explanation because ghosts aren't real. So clown's day off fallacy. So when you say Helen did X, I can quite comfortably say there is no good evidence to support that claim. I don't have to invoke cheesecloths or anything else. I can certainly see how a mundane explanation would be more likely, in the same way you understand someone offering you a box of gold is more likely to be a scam. Well, you can say you don't believe Helen is real, and you can then say, well, a mundane explanation would be more likely. In other words, she might be using like the various tricks that fake mediums did use. If you read M. Lamar Keen's The Psychic Mafia, for example, which I've actually reviewed. Now you've got where did I review it? Let me just have a look. I think I reviewed it on the main HPANWO site. Let's just have a look, because you'll find this interesting. Yeah, look, if you read this book, and I have read it just to show you I look at both sides of the story. I've done a full review of it there. The author actually does give a list of various techniques that fake mediums use. Darren Brown in his TV series Seance does the same, although he doesn't go into as much detail. So if you could find evidence that Helen is using one of those fake explanations, or even that it's suspected that she did, and it's likely she did, fair enough. But you can't then say, well, she's not using any of those, instead of she's using some method I've never heard of before, and it's completely impractical and implausible. And then, but it wins by default because it doesn't involve ghosts. No, that's bad logic. Only Amiga says on Penta 10, oh dear, another Wackaloon gathering. Entertaining nonetheless. Oh, right. Oh, well, I'm glad you find it entertaining, but, you know, it's a pity. It's a pity you're so negative. It really is. Only Amiga then continues, no, Ben, those aren't space aliens. Calm down. Well, as you know, I think I was a little bit over the top, Only Amiga, in terms of in terms of what I saw. And indeed, if you watch the video later on, you'll see that I actually, if you watch later on, you'll see that I actually do a more thorough investigation into that particular issue. And now I'm not so certain that what I saw was any alien. No. Penta 10 Paul Wills. Ben, did you ever watch Tales of the Unexpected and the brilliant Omega Factor back in the day? Are you a fan? Both great television series growing up as a kid. I like both. I mean, Tales of the Unexpected was great because it was based on Roald Dahl, an author like most children. I read his books, you know, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, etc. And he wrote Tales of the Unexpected, and some of them are really good. Omega Factor is really an underrated classic. It is a TV series which you can get on YouTube, I think. Let's just see if it's there. It's basically very similar to the X-Files, the Omega Factor. 1970. Yeah, you might be able to find it on YouTube. The whole thing used to be on YouTube, but it's a really, really good series. Actually, it's really great. Yeah, the Omega Factor trailer. That was the lady who was in it. The Britain's scariest psychic thriller. Yeah, it was bloody good. It was actually very similar in terms of its plot to the X-Files. But it was made many years before the X-Files, more than a decade before the X-Files. Very, very good indeed. So, yeah, I like both. Tales of the Unexpected was like short stories. A couple of them were really good. Paul Will says on Penta 10, I completely agree with you as regarding the crackheads in Glastonbury. Unfortunately, Glastonbury seems to attract most of them. Such a shame, but this is modern Glastonbury, I'm afraid. And, of course, especially in the conspiracy and paranormal sphere. Sad. Yeah. You get all kinds of people in this kind of field, and some of them are like better than others. I mean, I'm working on a video where I go into this in more detail, by the way, which is I might do that next, actually. Elliot Defoe, that's a good name. Elliot Defoe. Benny says, Benny, my brother from another brother. Are you a hospital porter, brother? Yeah, pride and dignity, brother. I've been interested in ufology since the early 90s, if not earlier, and trust me, I love your work. I more or less agree with the way you see this utter BS of a world forced upon us. The only thing I have to ask you is that, as someone who is always open to any possibilities of this seemingly crazy realm we find ourselves in, is knowing full well that everything we are being told is a lie, why do you still seem to still believe that we live on a globe and what we're told about what we're told about the universe? I ask you with full respect because I wish there were many more people like yourself, us, and then this world would be nothing like it is and has been for way, way too long. Hope you're well, mate. Well, thank you, Elliot. I really appreciate that. I do, and I'm really glad you enjoyed my contribution. And despite, like I said, being a tinfoil hatter and knowing that so much is a lie, I still believe we live on a globe. And you ask me why I still believe that. Well, the reason is quite complicated. But I have done guess what? I've done a video about it. Here we go. I've done several things about it, actually. Here we go. Flat Earth. Watch that. Let's just see if there are any more. I think I may have done a few. But I've done a couple of Flat Earth videos. Jet fuel. This is a good one. Jet fuel hoax. And the HPANWO TV poem. Yeah, please do. Please do. Jet fuel hoax is a good one. I'm very proud of this video. and the Flat Earth video. So please do watch those on my channel. And I give a full explanation then. But yeah, it's too complicated to answer that fully now. But basically, I think we live on a globe, and it's not because of I just believe the government. I think there's reason independent of any authority to say we live on a globe. Thanks, Elliot. Much appreciated. Keep watching. Pentac 10, it's Lewis, says, thanks as always, Ben. Another excellent video. You're welcome. Pentac 10 again. Steve Polish says, exercise. All right, here we go. In fact, I've gone slightly over, so I'll change that to third hour actually, because this is going to be quite a long comment, and I'll end after this one. Okay. Exercise Chameleon's history runs back to the 90s, Ben, and was almost always joint forces exercise involving special forces and various aircraft, up to including transports. How is an FOI exemption mentioning exclusions of such forces any sort of admission of anything, but that such an exclusion precludes public from obtaining details? Because it's when you, Steve, it's when you actually delve into the context, the fact they changed their story to begin with, and the fact that all the information about the exercise was backfilled afterwards. There's many others. It is explained if you go to the read Kaz's and Gary's book, look at their YouTube channel. It's all explained there. And indeed, in my own videos about Pentac, I'd explain it too. Steve says, also, quote, they seem to be trained and prepared to have contingency procedures for this kind of thing, which means it's not the first time they've done this. These operations are regular things, and that conflicts with, quote, Richard went to see Tony, an old friend. He's part of a special forces unit that is specifically trained to deal with UFO crash retrievals and indeed situations where there's like human mutilations and things like that. It's quite a scary episode, you know, but don't have nightmares, as they say in Crime Watch. This sort of thing is very rare, unquote. Well, which is it, rare or regular? Okay. It is very rare, but it happens. Oh, God. All right. There are units within the government trained and prepared for things like UFO crash retrievals, okay? These things are very rare compared to, for example, if you go out into the woods and walk around, falling down and breaking your leg and not being able to be found, things like that. Okay, those dangers are worse. Or just stumbling onto a road and being hit by a car, that sort of thing is more common, which is why I say don't have nightmares, because it's rare compared to that. This doesn't mean, I mean, you want to say how rare or regular, you're asking me to put figures on it. Put it this way, the figure is high enough for there to be this guy that Richard went to visit. Okay. Anyways, how is it in one sentence you say the government MOD are liars, and later you have them as truth ambassadors because of an FOI listing exemptions? Well, the thing is, don't you get it? Truth ambassadors because they have FOI listing exemptions. You misunderstand this whole thing. The fact of the matter is the fact that they listed these exemptions and wouldn't let Kaz get that information is proof that those units were involved. And when you take away the exercise, well, what they were obviously on some kind of operation, and the other evidence as well. So I don't understand why you're saying this. I really don't. Truth ambassadors because of an FOI listing exemptions, but they are liars. And then they send back an exemption, which then essentially says they lied about what they said before. I don't understand why you don't get that. Anyway, let's go back. Let's get on to the next hour. Okay, so we now have Steve Polish here on Pentac 10, who says here, I've had a bit of an... What's happened there? Sorry, something weird happened. It's gone to the... Here we go. Let's start again. Newest, okay. Where have I... Oh, bloody heck, where have we got to? Hang on, come on. There we go. Right, okay. No, I've done that one. I've had a bit of an embarrassing situation. Talking to streetlights on a hillside isn't that bad, Ben. I came home from a pub, wrapped my video camera in cling film and put it in a dishwasher because I needed to find out what the fuck goes on in there. Steve, this is one for the fess hole on Twitter, definitely. Oh dear, I bet that didn't turn out very well, did you? Okay, having been prepared to stay on a field all night, you presumably left those mysterious lights just hanging there, despite thinking they could be aliens dropping in for the anniversary. I think the big clue was you seeing more when you stood on the table and there were streets and buildings up there when you checked the map. Spotting the lights and talking to them is probably you all over, Ben, but you later looked a bit of a cabbage to say you were keeping an open mind based on the hearsay of pub goers, which is pretty obvious by the map. They were local and ground-based. No, I think I was right to keep an open mind. These are local people who know the area and I don't. Cabbages are wonderful things, actually. They're very tasty and they're very healthy. Nothing wrong with that. And I did, you see, that wasn't really very embarrassing, because if you know, as you watch the video, you'll see later on I actually do check up on this. Now, this is really weird. You skeptics are strange people, because you'd think I'd be congratulated by a skeptic for doing that. And I did check it on a map and I found out, yes, it probably was ground-based. And then you skeptics, this is weird, because you're not the first skeptic to do this. Skeptics say things like, well, you never check things. You woo-woos just believe and you never check evidence. And when we go and check the evidence, what does the skeptic say? They come back at us and say, why are you checking that evidence? I can't bloody win. Why can't you just congratulate me for what I did at the end of the video, the little studio shot, where I do investigate? But you can't congratulate me for that. You know why? Because you skeptics don't even understand your own lack of logic. And I mean, in my skeptic talk, I talk about this an awful lot. If you understood your own lack of logic, you would realize that to castigate someone for doing something which you earlier criticized them for not doing is completely and utterly illogical. Oh, dear. Anyway. We now have Steve mumbling on Pentac 10. You know this is a parachute flare story just as well as I do. WTF, are you wasting your and everyone else's time with it? It's not, Steve, it's not a parachute story. Oh, the Pentac incident is here. Hey, nice one. Says no flares, the MOD have confirmed. Sorry, Steve, try something else. Yes. And Steve says to Pentac incident, so we trust the government now. Oh, dear. Let's just hope that now, I'm sure the Pentac incident can actually explain this a lot better than I can. I did try to explain this to you earlier on, David, but let's see what they said here. Pentac says to David Smith, they are just people trying to do a job tied by their own constraints and exemptions, and this has ultimately been their undoing. I do not trust the government in the UK, but the military are the real deal, real people. Some are really good people in positions of power, forced to lie when, believe me, they don't really want to. I fight for disclosure because I believe we deserve to know, and the reality is they could probably release 90% of the information, and there's 10% perhaps people aren't ready to hear, but it needs to be said to ensure the future of the human race. And that includes you and everyone you know. Well said, Pentac Incident. That's either I think that's Kaz or Gary. Well said. Also, please do watch the recording on their channel. You see, Steve, I was going to, I'm going to do a little reply video for you. Those videos, those stupid videos you made about the Pentac incident, because, you're completely wrong, 100% wrong. And Steve actually says here, you should do, and in fact, he has the same idea as me. You should show the two Pentac videos I did too, and ask everyone which presented they find the most convincing. Which presentation they find the most convincing. Well, Steve, I intend to do that, and you know what? I think you're going to turn out with it. You're going to have egg on your face. You really are. And indeed, I do like a little reply, a text reply to Steve. And Professor Emlyn-Jones says to me, the mumbling dozer presentee, a Dovestale Butley reload, all render it in the Penty arch loader. Flopping in dust puffery. Collapsy most, pushing up the daisies, and trickly how into exile for all tie load. A steam it dollop and pie load, a handy hoe, shoes gazy, wondering where it all follopped. Oh, yes. Professor, you've been reading my script that I'm planning for Steve's video. Right, UFO disclosure 2026, bring Neil home first, says Wow Signal. Well done, Wow Signal. And we have here, Neil says here, bring him home. I am home, Ben. Yes, there is more than one Neil in this world, believe it or not. And I forgot, I should have specified. Neil Peel, of course, is the Neil we all know best. Professor Emlyn-Jones says here, in reply to that, bring him home, beauty most warblet in the Throcus by Jean Valjean from Miserable Lestards. Deep joy. Miserable Les Stars. Les Miserables. Bring him home. Yeah, that's from Les Miserables. Very good, very good. 124. We have Red Ibex, who says here, lol, good rebuttal. I have to admit that, David Smith. Oh, what does he say here? Let's have a look. David Smith says to Over the Moon, I don't mind the unwinnees. It's the other guff I tend to spend. You do mind the unwinnees, though. You mind the unwinnees terribly. You go on about it all the time. 2737 124. Why couldn't you not play with Dylan? All right. It's it's actually spelled Dylan, but he spelled it differently. That's my half brother. It's strange. I just couldn't. I think maybe he felt that there was some kind of abandonment. I don't know, because I was kind of a product of something that was separate from the family he knew. Or maybe he resented me. Maybe he still does. But even as kids, we couldn't get on. And since then, I've hardly spoken to him. He's, I'm quite alienated even from my family. I'm close, my immediate family. It's sad. It's strange that, but some people just are, But yeah, even as kids, we couldn't get on. Red Ibex says, I can't find anything. Read John Emlyn-Jones. What was your name before Emlyn-Jones? Did John know about your channel? I don't want to say what my family name was, which the name that the rest of my family have. I don't want to say what that is for the sake of privacy. Did he know about my channel? I don't know. Maybe he might have Googled me and found me, but I never asked him. He never said anything to me about it on those rare times he said anything at all. But anyway, UFO Disclosure 2026, bring Neil home. We have Steve Polish, who says here, quote, see, there's the Haunebu anti-gravity spacecraft built by the Nazis in their secret laboratory. Very Indiana Jones, but it's true. There's so much evidence for it, unquote. And he says there's a bit more evidence for Apollo missions being genuine, but I'm guessing the quantity so much as supports for the Haunebu is similar in volume to the quality of the rubbish put about proven liars like the ADs, which you think cast doubt on the moon landings. Oh, hang on a sec. And he carries on. But you said, quote, it's true, there's so much evidence for it, unquote. So what's the actual evidence that the Nazis built an anti-gravity spacecraft? And please be specific as to how you verified it being true. We know your evidence quantity and quality rules invert when Apollo sits alongside flying saucers, Ben. You mustn't tell us, but you mustn't tell fibs if all you have is hearsay. All right. Well, I've already explained to Over the Moon why he thinks. Well, I think that's unfair regarding Apollo, because I do actually seek quality evidence from both sides, and I'm willing to listen to both quality evidence from both sides. But I think you should. Right, there's a couple of good books about this. To be honest, I mean, if you want me to produce every single bit of evidence right now, I don't have it to hand, but I do recommend Igor Witkowski. Igor Witkowski. I recommend his work because what he has discovered forensic evidence in the area concerned, which is East Western Poland, where he's actually found where he thinks it might have been. Now, the actual Wenceslas mine where the work was done, here we are, interview with Project Camelot, a Nazi Bell. There's lots of stuff in Polish. There's loads of stuff from coast to coast and things like that. But yeah, he spoke at the Basis Conference. He can speak English and does several English language versions. But look, Project Reza, here we go. No, this isn't. I've not seen this one. But that is the fly trap.
To be rated excellent on Trustpilot.
That's the fly trap. This object. People say it's the base of a cooling tower. It's not, and indeed, Igor has dug underneath it. He's gone underneath it. Now, you don't get underneath a cooling tower.
Actually, I will ask.
It's interesting, yeah.
Converted into taken over.
Very interesting indeed. I'll have to watch that later.
Yeah,
but he's found like the conduits underneath where the Wenceslas mine was, to indicate that this whole thing was designed to generate an electrical field, and there were sensors and things like that for experiments. I mean, that's evidence. Whether you like it or not, that is evidence it's true. And there's much, much more in those books. Penta 10, 3157. We have Miss Manhead. That's a good name. All right, this is the light.
Anytime, bro. Have a great one.
Thanks very much, guys, for pointing that out. Okay, there we go. Okay, right. Okay. And Miss Manhead lights along a side drive way to a large house. Miss Manhead, if you watch the video further on, you'll know I actually do investigate that, and I think it's quite likely. Yeah, I think it's quite likely that's the case. But these things do deserve to be. Investigated. I think I don't go along. This is why I said to was it David Smith, whoever it was, one of the skeptics, and the skeptics tell you to investigate and with rationality and science, and when you investigate with rationality and science, they say stop investigating. So if you watch later on in the video, I hope you don't take that attitude. Disclosure Day trailer live stream. Bluebeam. Hello, Bluebeam. I haven't watched it, but I can also imagine Spielberg being heavily triggered by today's ufology or even government hearings, wanting to make another film about it, or he totally became a fan as well in last time. Yeah, Bluebeam. He's actually done an interview at South by Southwest Film Festival where he essentially says that. He says that his interest has been rekindled. 124 Red Ibex. Is Shine On You Crazy Diamond still your all-time favorite? Yes, it is. My favorite piece of music. It is, yeah. Red Ibex on 124. Do you believe peak oil is the world's foremost problem? Will it cause disclosure? It's not the world's foremost problem, but, it's funny enough, it could be the catalyst which leads to disclosure, because if it's true, I know some people deny it's even true, and Ian R. Crane said, look, oil replenishes itself, and they're just keeping it quiet so as not to crash the price. Then, in a sense, that could be maneuver society into a position where there's no choice but for free energy disclosure. So yeah, it's it could actually be that. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. How will they maintain secrecy in a world where all other avenues are shut off? Unless that's the idea, and they just want to collapse industrial society, which is a possibility. Red Ibex says, never seen District 9. I'm surprised by that. It's a must for all Alien buffs. It does look good, actually. Yeah, it does look good. Red Ibex, do you support the dead internet theory? Will you do a video? I personally believe it's true. I do, actually, and indeed I'm working. I think maybe an update on the electronic overlords video, the computer overlords video, might not be a bad idea in the next couple of months. Over the Moon. Oh, Apollo Detectives 13, new Sea Rock evidence. Over the Moon says, Artemis 2 won't be using anything like a meter of water, and it will be flying in more intense areas of the belts for longer. All right. That's not the video I wanted that's not the comment I wanted you to put on the video, but still, I'm glad you did put one on Over the Moon. And I'm curious to see, well, we'll soon find out, won't we? We'll find out when the rocket actually takes off. Because if you look at Jarrah White's article on Owlis, you'll see he disputes that, and he's concerned about, frankly, for the safety of the astronauts. But we'll soon find out, won't we? Penta 10, Over the Moon. Oh, sorry. EA Audits. I just looked at that one. So it's Penta 10 EA Audits, who says here, what concerns me and what I'd like to ask Kaz is if the UFO was killing organisms on the ground and even turned her hair white, isn't that evidence that the military might have actually had a good reason to attack it? We already know the military aren't on our side. Well, according to Kaz and Gary, so there are people in the military definitely on our side. But it's a good point. I mean, we know that UFOs can be harmful. We know there are risks associated with them. We know people who have contact with them do suffer injuries of various kinds and are even killed. And in some cases, it may be deliberate on the part of the beings behind it, the intelligence behind it, or maybe it's just inadvertent. It's inadvertent. So it could be that it was exposure to some kind of energy from the craft that caused Kaz's hair loss. And things like that. Or Larry Warren, who suffered eye problems, things like that. John Burroughs, who suffered all kinds of health problems. And it's been admitted in court that John Burroughs he was injured in the line of duty. He's got his full pension now as a result. He had to fight for that. So, yeah. But it's a good question. I mean, but good reason to attack it? I mean, unless it was deliberately attacking us, the answer is no. And the question is, was it deliberately attacking us? Kaz and Gary think, based on its behavior, not. And let's face it, if, as I said this in my interview with Kaz, I did an interview on HPANWO Radio with Kaz. If they chose to retaliate, they could do so with a show of force that we couldn't possibly imagine. I mean, they would obliterate us if they chose to retaliate. So in my view, it's likely they were not, this object was not hostile, and therefore there was no good reason to attack it, in my view. I don't know all the details, but I'm curious to see what Kaz says about that. Disclosure Day 3rd trailer live stream. Faust, says Phuket. Yes. Oh, my beauty past compare, these jewels bright I wear. Do you take the devil's bargain? That's a question. Over the moon, NASA's Artemis 2 flight readiness news conference. All right, I'm not going to click the link, but there is a YouTube. Yeah, there's a YouTube thing which he's put here. So yeah, obviously over the moon. I'm curious to see if this takes off. I'm watching this. If you think I'm sort of sitting there thinking, oh my God, it's going to take off and it's going to go around the moon and prove me wrong, then you misjudge me and you misunderstand me. I'm actually curious to see what happens. I really am, and I do hope the astronauts will be safe. Obviously. Dan Rather, the newsreader, says on Disclosure Day 3rd trailer live stream. Hell, yes, brother. Oh, thank you very much. Bring Neil home, and Steve mumbling, it says here. Coulthard tries to inject some intrigue into the disappearance of General McCaslin when there is none. He doesn't tell us McCaslin left his glasses, his mobile phone, and his smartwatch at home, yet took his wallet and .38 revolver with him. Yes, he did, Steve. He does mention that. I don't know. I mean, it could be not the one you've seen, not the interview you've seen, but because Coulthard has actually said that. We know he did take these things with him. Yeah. His wife did say that was strange. She said taking his gun with him was unusual, and leaving behind his digital watch and mobile phone. He didn't usually do that. So this was unusual behavior on his part. Yeah. But there's been some obfuscation. For example, the shirt that they found is not his, right? His wife has now confirmed that the shirt was not his. This means that his description has been wrong for the last month. It's almost a month now since he disappeared. The clothes he was supposedly wearing, he's maybe wearing different clothes. It's as if maybe the police just made a mistake, but this is not helping. It's not helping the investigation because people who otherwise would have noticed and recognized him, maybe they got that wrong. You see what I mean? What does that suggest to you? Why do you think the Russians or Chinese would abduct McCaslin, who left the Air Force back in 2013 instead of Brigadier General Jason Bartolomeo, the current commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson AFB? Well, you see, we don't know. I mean, this point has been made. McCaslin retired a long time ago. He left the Air Force. But how closely has he remained within the industry since? And what was he involved with before his retirement that may be relevant to what's happening now? And it could be that General Bartolomeo doesn't have that information and is not involved with that now, whereas in the past, McCaslin was. Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office issued a silver alert for McCaslin. BCSO spokesman Deanna Aragon said in a news release, due to his medical issues, law enforcement is concerned for his safety. Nothing whatsoever to do with flying saucers. Next caller, please. Well, Steve, I don't think the official police investigators and their press liaison is going to start talking flying saucers in that way at that location. I mean, they may be thinking it, but they're probably keeping it private. Partly because they don't want to be discredited, but also because possibly they are considering this as a serious part of investigation, which they don't want to reveal at this present time. Professor Unwin Most says, not Unwin. Oh, blimey. Yes, Steve, UFO rubbish is one thing, but exploiting an old man in ill health like this for views is beyond disgusting, and I will never see cool turd in the same way again. No different to the idiot spinning 9/11. Normal service will be resumed shortly. All right, well, I don't agree with you, Professor Unwin-Most. I don't. I don't think it's exploitative. In fact, it may well even help. It may well even help find him more quickly. I think it is as well. And as for 9/11, I mean, I've already covered that. This, and here we go. Right, Steve Mumley's got a video here. This is on the Bring Neil Home. This is what McCaslin was doing at Wright Patterson AFRL. No flying saucers. All right, what's this here? Okay, let's have a look.
I'd never seen anything like it.
It's something called AIAA.
I've never seen anything move like it.
51st
Did it come from the stars?
meeting, January 20.
I don't know.
Right.
But it had one on it.
This is the year he retired, apparently.
Introducing Grammarly, like you've never seen before. Your all-in-one writing essential. This,
and it's something that really brings a vitality that I'm proud of.
I've seen this. I've seen this clip before.
Tell you a little bit about just to finish this stage setting. How we're organized. Our laboratory is technically organized. The rest of Material Command is product organized. You find product centers and program offices.
This is quite long. It's 54 minutes. But I'll have watched that later along with the other things I'm going to watch later. You say no flying saucers. How do you know? How do you know that was the sort of thing he wanted to discuss at this particular thing, which actually ended up in a YouTube video? How do you know that, Steve? You don't know that. And when you consider the other evidence brought to bear, then how do you, it's possible there's more things going on. There's more issues associated with this. Oh, here's an old one. Bilderberg 2013, part 12 of 6 megaphones. Oh, this is a great series I did here. A series of, in the days when they let you do like videos, like reply videos and things. And Professor Unwin-Most says, "For jam noise, shall I compare thee to a summer's day bold fairmost? Thou art more gentilly breezied and smoothly temperlowed. For ruppish winders do puffalo the May blossom spriglets, and summer's leaf scroll hath too short a tie load. Sometimes the sun oblit spinny shineth hotly most, and oft his goldy face load growth soggy behind cloudy shrouds, and every beauty load from the beauty most declineth by fate's whoops bangy or tie loads trickly house shufflings. But the eternal face bowl shall not follow up, nor lose that heartstrile's tickler thou dost possess, nor shall deathly grim brag thou roamest in shademost, when in my wordlings thou growest fresh and pentalode press." I know what that means. "So long as Beal folk breathe and peepers see, so long this scribble scroll giveth life to thee." What's that poem? It's one of those love sonnets, isn't it? Was it? Let me just Google the first line. Yeah, Sonnet 18, poem by William Shakespeare, which of course Poetry Foundation. Yeah, you can see the whole. You can actually read the original Shakespeare in English here. I don't think is there any talk about pentalodes? I don't know. I think it's about romantic love. Obviously, The Darling Buds of May. Yeah, that was a book, wasn't it? That was a famous book. It's very romantic, wasn't it? But there's no talk about pentalodes or rods. Shakespeare tended to use the word rod or other kind of euphemistic words when referring to pentalodes. But yeah, that's lovely, isn't it? That's beautiful. It sounds as the Klingons say. The Klingons say you can never in Star Trek. You'll never appreciate Shakespeare until you hear it in its original Klingon. Yeah, I don't think you can appreciate Shakespeare till you hear it in its unoriginal Unwanese. 3i Atlas Berejove live stream, and the good professor says first deep joy about bloody tie load 2. Yes, you get your first tinfoil hattie load. Your tinfoil hattie load. And we have your, what's this? We have Professor Unwin-Most, who says here, on Oxford, May morning 2012. Oh, wow, good. I did another one since then, but this is the one where it was all raining all the time. Classical music warblets in the Throkus. Now all inclining, including a quartet of stringly string males fit for the grand deep joy of the eardroves. That was the, yeah, that was loads of that. Oxford May morning is really something else. Allow me to elaborate your fine description. The viola brius is indeed a foursome bold instrumental conjured in the 17th century by renowned Italian craftmeister Craig Mona of the House of Monaficio, expertly in woodly curvature and varnishy shine mode. Oh yes, the scrapey most violubrious, smallest membering of the clan, sweetly sweet and chirrup tonal. Often the lead squealer in the orchestral. Oh, really? Not the pig in Animal Farm. Fitting all highmost above like the rest, like a caffeinated sparrow. The violage, smallest membering of the clan, squeaky sweet and chirp tonal, often the lead squealer of the orchestral. Oh, that's a repeat. Okay. That's a repeat of the same sentence. The violubrious proper, violubrioso. Middling size, your standard screech and swoon box, known for its warmly hug tones and ability to weep melodious when stroked correctwise with a horse trail bodle. Sounds a bit like my ex-girlfriend. The cellage, large most and rumble deep, played in the knee clutch posy. It sings all sorrow soft and honey lone. Cello, yeah. A favourite instrument for gloomsome elegy or romantic shudder notes. The basely double-ode, grandfather of the set, a hulking Bronto string, so tall the player has to assume the lean and hoist stance, provides a deep boomly foundation, whoomper at the bottom end, like a polite earthquake. Oh, this is, I think, the string instruments, yeah. Together, these four from the noble Violobriosus quartet, capable of producing music from gentle twiddle to full thunderbolt, depending on the composer's moody want. Yeah, that's a good summary of the string family. Bring Neil home. Steve Mumbling says, he was suffering from mental fog. He's been suffering with this mental fog for weeks. He took his 38 with him when he usually leaves it behind. He's been dropping out of organizations he's been working with. And there's a link here. Is this? I've seen. Oh. The sightings. Oh yeah, I've seen this. It's on News Nation. It's just the latest press conference. This is going to have FA to do with Wright Patterson or Roswell. Oh lol. He's probably been told his mental fog is only going to get worse and decided to spare. I'm not going to read the rest of that, Steve. I don't want to say that out loud, please, because you're speculating on his fate, which, if true, is extremely tragic, and I don't want to voice that at this present time. Next caller, please. Oh, we've got a thread. We've got a thread on 3 Atlas Perijove. And it says here, goody byload through atloader, iloader. Through atload, iloader, as you trickly how, into the far, far flummery corns of the heavenly abode. Yeah, this is 3 Atlas Perijove live stream. This is partly kind of a goodbye thing, because it is a kind of like saying farewell. I mean, 3 Atlas has now passed its last point of contact with solar system bodies. Jupiter was the final one. I mean, it's gone through so many. It's gone through, Mars, Venus, very distant from Earth, but then Jupiter. I mean, this is like the Sun, of course, perihelion. This was really the last gasp. This was his last port of call, and now it's gone through. We don't know what influence it's had on this solar system as of yet, good or bad, but I think for the last 8 months, it's given us, and me especially, a real sense of wonder and delight. And that's now over, and I regret that. If it had sort of slowed down and entered orbit, I'd have been thrilled. Do not drift ye full up into that goodly night abode. Oh no, oldie age should burny blaze and ravey roar at the close of daily tie-load. Huffalo dowder, screech and squeal against the dimly tying of the light load. You're turning into quite a poet, aren't you? In Unwinnie's poet. Though wise beals at their endymost know the dark is course correctly, because their wordage forked no lightning flash fizz bangy. They do not driftly follop into the goodly night bode. Oh, deep folly. Good Beals, the last wavy flappage by crying how glinty bright load. Their frail bocus might have dancely played in greeny shrubbage bayload. Huffalo Dowder, screech and squeal against the dimly dying of the light load. Wild Beals, who caught and sang the sunly bode in flighty most, and learned too late, spacey tyload, they grieved it on the wayload. Do not driftly softly into that good night bode. Grave Beals near croaky most, who see with blindy blazing sight. Blind eyeballs could blaze like meteor fire, and deep joy. Huffalo Dowder, screech and squeal against the dimly dying of the light load. And you, my Rockley Beal, there on sad height load, screech and squeal, affects ye most with your fierce tearage, I pray most. Do not driftly follop into that good night bode. Huffalo Dowder, screech and squeal against the dimly dying of the light load. All right. That's amazing. I don't know what that did to my viewers and how many of them clicked away, but I don't care. I thought that was cool. Unwinnie's poetry. UAPS. STFU, I don't understand a word you're saying in your comment, and your comment is too long. Haha, I'm only joking, pal. Professor Unwin says, preserve it the wordage for prostrale and future generacres. Oh, yes. When it's folloped, then it's folloped onto the forgetly histrail, never returning there. That's right. You know, thousands of years from now, some archaeologist could discover the remains of this video or transcript or something, and speculate on the ancient languages of the British Isles and think, oh, that's what everyone used to speak. And UAPS says, yes, I totally agree. David Icke in London. Oh my goodness me, part 2. And Pressy says, never mind. Davo Eiclarty Eicamole, who's the pleasurely most femloader at 349 for deep joy in the pentaload there. Oh, this is Sylvia, I think. Is this Sylvia? Because I interviewed her at the time. Yeah.
1999.
Yeah, Sylvia.
1999. Welcome to HPANWO TV. Hospital Fortis.
That's my old mobile phone camera.
Dignity, stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV. I'm here at the Brixton Academy still, and I'm with two very people I know very well from the David Icke Forum. This is Narinda and Sylvia. Or the internet.
Sylvia, yeah, hey, yeah. Oh my goodness me. I'm still in touch with Narinda on Facebook. He's married to Sylvia. Yeah, that's the femloader you're talking about. I won't tell him you said that. Yeah, she's beautiful. She's lovely. Yeah, and they're a lovely couple. Narinda's really cool. He's a really cool guy. And I actually, funny enough, I met up with Narinda again. I think it was a couple of years ago when David Icke did his show in London. I met up with him there. Yeah. Right. 3i Atlas Perijo live stream, and UAPS says, oh no, not 3i Atlas again. This is torture. I'm afraid I'll have to skip this one, Ben. Well, I might watch a little bit and see how it goes. All right, UAPS. Well, I hope you did watch it. I hope you did get something out of it. Now, no doubt you will be pleased to know this is probably going to be my last ever 3i Atlas video. All right. It's a kind of a goodbye thing. So you won't have to put up with that anymore. The Cat of Joy. Oh, here comes the questionnaire. The big questionnaire from the Cat of Joy. Where do you keep your shoes? Right. I keep my shoes just by the door of my bedroom. What's your favorite book? It's called, apart from my own, The Illuminati Trilogy by Robert Shea and Robert Anton Wilson. It's a fantastic book. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, do watch it. Do read it if you can. It's never been adapted in a movie. There was a very famous stage play done in 1977, and they did like another one 23 years later, of course. This is just so good. I mean, it's weird because it's quite a surreal and very sort of abstract piece with very anarchic in terms of its trilogy. But I just couldn't put it down. This is the edition I've got here with this cover. It's fantastic. It's very big, very long, and it's full of, and there's various different editions of it. Please do read it. You'll love it. I have a joke for you. What did the celery priest say to his salad congregation? Let us pray. Let us pray. Sorry. Let us pray. On that note, do you go to church? Right. No, I don't. I used to go to. I mean, I'm not religious. I'm not conventionally religious, or at least I don't believe in an organized religion. On that note, whereabouts is your favorite cathedral? Right. It's probably York. It's probably York Minster, where I actually went. Do you remember that? I did a video called York, which I'm very proud. I'm very proud of this video. It's very good. I was helped by a local historian, Lily Brunton, and I'm very, very grateful to her assistance. It's simply called York, and it's really, really good. I made it in 2022. It's a really good video, this. Yeah. Pippi Longstocking or Rainbow Bright? Make your choice wisely, Danielsa. My name's Ben. Pippi Longstocking was this Dutch girl, wasn't it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Pippi Longstocking, my mum used to, you see, my mum used to read that when she was a little kid, and she told me about Pippi Longstocking. I don't know. I don't know much about her. I certainly don't know who Rainbow Bright is. So I can't make a choice wisely or otherwise. EA Audit says 25 anomalies now. It's just took over the Hubble telescope. Anyone that thinks this isn't disclosure day is missing the obvious in IMO. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, this data will continue to be analysed even now 3i Atlas is gone. It will. And who knows what might come out of it? Who knows what might be revealed? Okay, David Splendid Isolation. How you doing, mate? How you doing? On Penturk 10, he says neck oil. That's a beer, isn't it? Neck oil. I'll just there's a timestamp here. I'll just have a look. My drink. Cass just gave me this. Oh yeah, it's in a neck oil glass. It's in a neck oil glass, but it's actually not. It's cider. Ian R. Crane dies, and we have Vordanian who says, "Yeah, thank you, Ben. Ian is a great man. R.I.P. Ian R. Crane." Yeah, I was literally just thinking the other day. I actually interviewed Mark Devlin, and I was just thinking how much I miss Ian. How I wish he was still here with us. How much we depended on him, and how and you know how it's what he would have said about today's world. Nina Burns, hello Nina, how are you? Oh blimey, I've got Nina Burns, who I know on Facebook, says LMAO, your opinion on Andrew Johnson. I'm glad you found that amusing. And Nina also says, seriously, I'm going to miss 3i. I do not believe it was a natural object. No, me neither. It can't have been. All right, we've got Steve Polish. This is literally, all right, this has been put on here while I've been filming this. Who says here, you credit Gary with field work and collecting physical and forensic evidence. This is on Penturk 10, I should point out, which there are verifiable mountains for Apollo, all right, which you doubt based on the say-so proven lies of fabricators. All right, I've already addressed that point, Steve Polish. I've already addressed it. What did Gary actually collect? How much? How is it such small quantities of one category favors alien visitation, but vast quantities of every type of evidence the court admits does not favor NASA? I've already explained the last bit to you, Steve. I'm not going to explain it again. What did Gary actually collect? Well, you've got to read the book or study the interviews I did with him or Kaz and the various videos I made about this. I've got an entire portal here about this, which you can actually check out. Here we go. Let's have a look. I'll just show it to you. I've got a Penturk mini portal that will help. It'll answer all your questions. There you go. So you can check that out there. And then we have here, we got another long comment. This 38 minutes ago, this is not long ago, on Penturk 10. Quote, they were obviously using weapons with real warheads, which is unthinkable, unquote. This is nonsense. At the heights you're alleging these sightings, you'd have hundreds of witnesses to loud noise and shaking houses. Yes, we do. That statement, as you would say, is pure rhetoric. What? Military flashbangs can exceed 200 decibels, and as nearby jet engine can shake your windows at 140 decibels. The couple you refer to could well have heard less lethal military ordnance when the pressure isn't dissipated well by local terrain. No, No. There's so much here. There's the backfilling. There's the fact that there was so much lies put in afterwards, and there was the fact that these destinations were so close to the hospital in an area where they never have exercises. There's so much more. So you're completely wrong there. You're talking nonsense here, Steve. In my time in the forces, I have used the common flashbangs about the size of a tube of Smarties, sound signals for dropping over submarines, which are the size of a can of soup, and larger bomb blanks, which can be the size of a 2.5 paint tin. Once again, a bit of hearsay, a bit of speculation, a bit of creativity, and you have an alien special forces dogfight where we win in the dead of night, and all fragments get shipped off to a special hangar 5,000 miles away. No, basically, no. It's not hearsay or speculation, it's evidence. Quote, do we really want to engage in violent attacks against a civilization that is much more technologically advanced than we are? If they choose to retaliate, they could do so with a ferocity beyond anything we could possibly wield, unquote. That's me being quoted again. There's much more technologically advanced alien craft which keep crashing and getting shot down, you mean? Yeah, they're not perfect, are they? Yeah. Possibly not, as I said, they've chosen not to retaliate for whatever reason. Exactly how do you know what their powers of retaliation are, Ben? Well, I don't specifically, except there are occasions in which combat between UFOs and humans has taken place, and in almost all those situations, the humans are worse off. We also know we can speculate on the fact that they have various abilities and various powers in the same way we do, and assume that their military technology is advanced proportionally, because that's certainly the case with humans. That's how I know that. So, Steve, that is a really nonsensical comment you just left there. And that is the end, actually, I think. I'm just going to do... What I'll do now is I'll do a quick refresh. I mean, the thing actually refreshed by accident, so I got Steve's comments actually on the little clip. But I'm going to go now to YouTube notifications to see if what I get here now. So there's Steve's comment there. Someone like that. You credit Gary with field work. What's this? That's 1 hour ago. I think I've answered that question, haven't I? Yes, I have. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look. This is going to be a long one. It's nearly 10 p.m. That's it, right? Okay. So here endeth another reply to comments video. My goodness me, it's been another long one, but then lots of comments, lots of interesting ones, and I'm grateful for all of them. They're all really good. So what's coming up next? I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure. But anyway, regarding this video, obviously I'm grateful to everyone who's left a comment. The skeptical ones were really interesting too. Give me a chance to explore things. And yeah, everyone else who left, it's been a great dialogue, and I love these videos. And obviously, without your comments, these videos wouldn't happen. Now, please, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is the only version of this video you'll see. So please go to Alt-Tech and watch me there, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble. If you're watching this video on those platforms, please do check the channel page for the Alt-Tech exclusive. Now, in this, I did something unusual this time. Normally, I do the YouTube version first, but I've already uploaded, at the time I'm filming this, I've already uploaded the Alt-Tech annex. And the reason is, when my green screen arrived last night, I was so excited. I thought, I've got to use it. I've got to get my green screen out. I've got to test it. So I did the Alt-Tech annex last night. I was finished quite late, actually. So do check that out. So what's coming up next? Well, there's the Mark Devlin tour next. The Mark Devlin tour is actually coming up next weekend, next Saturday. I'm filming that. I'm hopefully doing another video between now and then. Probably a non-woo-woo one. I've got an idea for a non-woo-woo video, which is quite rare for me, so that's pretty good. I've got lots of other ideas too. I'm planning a few trips, including some in the local area, so check those out. But in the meantime, thank you all of you for watching HPANWO TV, and I can do this without my hand glitching now with the green screen. Hospital Porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order.
Conspiracies, government cover-ups, Earth mysteries, monster cryptids, psyops, saucers and black triangles, HPANWO.